What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1KN Chapter 1 Kizaru. Are you here? Help me get someone into Marine, Update 1? Sea Circle Calendar 1520. The blue sea is endless, and the sea breeze is rolling up the sea surface, creating waves and ripples. Seagulls are flying above the sky. In the vast sea near the red line, there stands an extremely strict and towering island in the center, and walls about tens of meters high stand in all directions, blowing a solemn atmosphere. This place is the Naval Headquarters, Marineford. The absolute forbidden area for pirates, at this time. In a high-level office in Marineford, a middle-aged man in a golden shirt, even his trouser legs are golden in color, is lying on the chair at this moment, with his legs crossed on the table. He is tall and slightly thin. The facial features of the middle-aged man are nothing special when viewed separately, but when put together, they give people an inexplicable sense of vulgarity. Looks like a monkey. Of course, Marine outside dare not say such words. Just because. The middle-aged man in the golden shirt, full name is Borsellino. He is also one of the famous Marine 3 admirals, Kizaru. The highest combat power in the Marine, his status is second only to Marine Marshal Sengoku. Oh, I seem to have forgotten to inform the personnel department to arrange a stable job for Lu En and put him in the Marine. Kizaru scratched his ear and suddenly remembered something. Lu En, his nephew. A 16-year-old boy. He is his sister's biological son and the only one left after his sister passed away. He is the only bloodline in the Borsellino family besides him. If I remember correctly, Lu En is probably still in North Blue, right? Kizaru thought for a while, based on my understanding of this kid's lazy character. If there is nothing important, he probably won't leave his doghouse. Kizaru has a deep understanding of the character of his nephew Lu En. So he slowly stood up from his chair. It just so happened that the Marine HR office was just downstairs, so he could go there in person. In order to find a job and a stable job for his lazy nephew, Kizaru was determined to go through the back door today. He was the Admiral of Headquarters. What's wrong with putting someone in the Marine to eat dry food? Is there anyone who dares to object? I can't let my lazy nephew starve to death. If I hadn't found a back door for this kid, I'm afraid that with his lazy character, he would starve to death on the street sooner or later. That's the only widow left by my sister. As an uncle, how can I watch my nephew starve to death like this? With this thought in mind, Kizaru went downstairs and came to the HR department of Naval Headquarters. The HR department of Naval Headquarters is responsible for managing and counting the Marine members of the 4 sea areas. For example, on weekdays, whether it is East Blue or West Blue, the Marine branches established in the 4 sea areas need to report to the Human Resources Department here at the Naval Headquarters on how many Marine soldiers they recruit each year. Let the Human Resources Department have an accurate record of the current number of Marines. Don't think this is an easy job. On the contrary, the Marines in the Human Resources Department are very busy every day. It is necessary to coordinate the number of Marines in various ways, calculate the wages and benefits paid by the Marines every year, and the pensions for the Marines who died in battle, etc. Kizaru came to the door of the Human Resources Department and looked inside, and saw a group of busy Marines. There were men and women, most of them were very young and green. One look at these people can generally judge that they should have just joined the Marine in recent years. Only these newcomers would be so hardworking and uncomplaining. You are Admiral Kizaru? The arrival of Admiral of Headquarters Kizaru immediately caused an uproar in the entire HR department, and everyone looked at Kizaru with awe. You guys take care of your own business, I'm only here for a personal matter. Kizaru waved his hand. Soon, the HR department resumed its busy schedule. But Kizaru's arrival also attracted the attention of the head of the HR department, who immediately came to Kizaru with a respectful face and asked carefully, Admiral Kizaru, is there anything I can do for you? Hearing this, Kizaru was not shy and went straight to the point, stating his purpose. I want to put someone in the Marine. Oh no, I have a nephew named Lu En. He is gifted and talented, and he is a rare genius. In our North Blue, the villagers all know that my nephew Lu En has the qualifications of an admiral. Moreover, he is diligent, hardworking, willing to work hard, obedient to orders, and respectful to leaders. He basically trains for 24 hours a day without eating or drinking, and the villagers are full of praise. This year, he just turned 16 and has reached the age to officially join the Marine. So, I plan to arrange for my nephew to join the Marine, and I am here to inform your Human Resources Department so that you can prepare. At the same time, you will notify the Marine branch in North Blue later and let them get the process done as soon as possible. After speaking, the head of the Human Resources Department was stunned. But he quickly came to his senses, without showing any abnormality, and nodded in response. Is Admiral Kizaru's nephew going to join Marine? Then I will make sure to arrange everything for him. Isn't it just to put someone in Marine? Hey, it's not a big deal. It's normal for the Admiral of Headquarters to put someone in Marine. And this person is Admiral Kizaru's nephew. That's another matter. I'll trouble you with this matter. After a pause, Kizaru said again, my nephew, in some ways, is actually quite similar to me. Moreover, his talent in some aspects has surpassed me in all aspects. You must personally arrange for my nephew to join Marine, don't delay it. Speaking of this, Kizaru's eyes were a little emotional, and he couldn't help but recall. A few years ago, he returned to North Blue and saw the appearance of his nephew. The boy is a teenager, already 1.9 meters tall, dressed in black. Perhaps because he is afraid that white clothes are too difficult to wash and easy to get dirty, his nephew likes to wear black clothes. A teenager is a young man, and he should be in a lively age, but he lies on that old man's chair all day, basking in the warm sun, wearing a pair of sunglasses, crossing his legs, and sleeping soundly. Too lazy. The house is even more messy, even Kizaru has to admit it. His nephew has perfectly inherited his excellent qualities. He is even better than his father, in terms of laziness. Anyway, Kizaru is ashamed of himself. In some aspects, his talent even surpasses you, Admiral Kizaru. Hiss. After listening to Kizaru's high evaluation, the head of the Human Resources Department in front of him couldn't help but take a breath, and his heart was obviously shocked. At the same time, the head of the HR department suddenly felt extremely curious and expectant about the nephew that Kizaru had never met. You know, the man standing in front of him, he is the strongest fighter in Marine. One of the 3 admirals of Marine. It is really hard to imagine that there is someone who can make Admiral Kizaru feel inferior. It seems so, there is no doubt, that young man named Lu En must be an extremely outstanding genius, so, next, I must personally take care of it and let the genius boy named Lu En join Marine. I must not be careless. Chapter 2 Peak Whitebeard plus Kaido plus Linlin's physique, second update. North Blue, Long Legs Islands, Bread Village. The village is famous for producing a variety of delicious breads all year round. At the same time, it is also the hometown of Admiral of Headquarters Kizaru Borsellino. Early in the morning, the residents of the village began their daily busyness. Everyone had a smile on their face, and the atmosphere was very harmonious, warm and lively. As the hometown of Marine Admiral, Bread Village is highly valued by Marine and naturally can be protected from pirate attacks. Located in the eastern part of the village, Lu En slowly opened the door and walked out of the room, holding an old man's rocking chair in his right hand. He casually placed the rocking chair in the yard in front of the door, just when a ray of sunlight in the morning shone down. The warmth swept over the whole body, and the comfort made Lu En involuntarily close his eyes slightly. He sat down and lay down neatly on the rocking chair, and put on sunglasses, crossed his hands on his head to relax, and there was a small stone table next to him, on which were placed a variety of cakes, desserts, and drinks. Lu En picked up the glass with his left hand and took a gulp of the sweet and delicious orange juice. He made a comfortable sound. Then he picked up the dessert next to him and chewed it slowly. This kind of heavenly life made Lu En dare not even think about it in his previous life. Yes. Lu En is a time traveler. 3 months ago, he traveled to this world and learned that this world was actually the world of the Pirate King. At this time, more than 10 years have passed since the execution of the Pirate King Roger. The words left by Roger before his death set off the Great Pirate Era, and countless pirates flocked to the sea to find treasures. Every day, countless islands are looted and plundered by pirates. Of course, all this is naturally very unfamiliar to Lu En, who is in the Bread Village. Since he traveled to this world, he has never seen a pirate in 3 months. As for the reason? Of course, it is because this is the hometown of Admiral Kizaru. It's a coincidence. Lu En has another identity after traveling here, that is, the nephew of Admiral of Headquarters Kizaru Borsellino. In simple terms, Kizaru is Lu En's uncle. Kizaru's sister is Lu En's mother, but she passed away a few years ago, leaving only Lu En. She is also Kizaru's only relative. After learning all this, Lu En began to live a life of leisure without any burden. As the hometown of Marine Admiral, Bread Village basically has no blind pirates who dare to attack. As the nephew of Marine Admiral Kizaru, although Lu En's background is not as good as King Luffy, it is definitely not weak. With such a prominent family background, coupled with being in such a safe place, Lu En has no idea of struggling and becoming stronger. Isn't it nice to be a salted fish? Why do you have to roll with a group of people? Lu En doesn't have much ambition. After all, in the previous life, it was because of the 996 blessings, coupled with various overtime, that Lu En died suddenly in overtime. In this life, since he has traveled through the world of One Piece and has become Kizaru's nephew with a distinguished family background, Lu En doesn't want to struggle anymore. As early as the first day he traveled through 3 months ago, Lu En made up his mind. In this life, no matter who it is, don't think of asking him to work overtime. So, in 3 months, Lu En's range of activities is at most to go to the port coast of Bread Village, and he has never left Bread Village. After all, the sea outside is so dangerous, with countless vicious pirates entrenched, and pirate groups fighting every day. It would be too troublesome if he got involved. Yes. Even if he was involved in the fighting and disputes of the pirate groups, it would only be trouble for Lu En, and he couldn't feel afraid. Because, on the day Lu En traveled through, he activated a cheat. As a traveler with cheat, this must be very reasonable, right? As for what cheat is, this makes Lu En have to emphasize it. This is an extremely simple and crude cheat. It is not the troublesome cheats like those in the novels in the previous life, such as issuing tasks and getting rewards after completing the tasks. Lu En's cheat is simple and crude. You only need to let Lu En go to a designated place to sign in, and you can get a generous sign in reward. After completing a designated sign in place, the next designated sign in place will be refreshed. The rewards for each sign in are quite rich. Even Lu En, a salted fish, can't help but be amazed and stunned. For example, 3 months ago, when Lu En just crossed over to One Piece, he just activated the cheat, and the cheat immediately released the first sign in place. Please sign in at Bread Village. Bread Village is where Lu En is currently. This kind of reward, which can be said to be completely free, is regarded by Lu En as a novice gift package given by the cheat. That sign in was the only sign in Lu En had done in the past 3 months. But even so, the reward he received from that sign in had already made his strength extremely terrifying, a huge change that could be described as earth-shaking. What exactly was the reward? Lu En couldn't help but recall that sign in 3 months ago. Successfully signed in to the Bread Village. Congratulations, host, you have obtained the physique of Peak Whitebeard plus Peak Kaido plus Peak Charlotte Linlin. Originally, Lu En's physique was not very weak, but it was naturally completely incompatible with those monsters in the sea. The physiques of those monsters in the sea are either cockroaches that are immune to death, or they have full defense and can be called immortal. Among them, King Luffy, Kaido, and Charlotte Linlin are the most famous. The former is the protagonist's halo. The latter two are truly terrifying physiques. Kaido, known as the strongest creature on land, sea, and air, can be seen in Madara. And Charlotte Linlin, this one is even more heavyweight. When Big Mom was 6 years old, she destroyed a village of giants with her extremely strong physique alone, which is enough to show that Big Mom's physique may be even more terrible than Kaido's. Born Destroyer is used to describe Big Mom's physique. Now, Lu En's first sign-in is equivalent to a novice gift package given by the system, which makes his physical fitness maxed out at once. His physique is directly strengthened to an explosive degree. Pay attention. The sign-in reward Lu En received is not just Whitebeard plus Kaido plus Charlotte Linlin. If that's all, then we have to distinguish what age these 3 people are in. In the previous life, Lu En read a lot of online novels. Those sand sculpture authors like to play word games the most. First use the gimmick of high-end to deceive handsome readers. For example, first use Whitebeard plus Kaido plus Charlotte Linlin's physique to make a novice gift package. Does it sound cool? Very high-end? But the result is that the last 3 young versions of the 4 emperors' physiques are given to fool the readers. It's like, in the last life, those stupid netizens sent a video link and then clicked in to find out that it was Teletubbies. I took off my pants, and you show me this? Isn't this a living scam? Is the physique of the young version of Whitebeard plus Kaido plus Big Mom strong? Of course it is very strong. However, compared with the peak period of these 3, it is like a small witch meeting a big witch, there is no comparison. It should be noted that the sign-in reward Lu En received is the physique of Peak Whitebeard plus Peak Kaido plus Peak Charlotte Linlin. All hard goods. There is no so much deception, it's real. Just ask. How strong are the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak period? That's simply unimaginable, and Lu En got the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak period at the same time. In other words, now Lu En, even though he is only 16 years old, already possesses the fusion of the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at their peak. He is the fusion of the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at their peak. To describe it in the words of those stupid netizens in the previous life, it is the innate 4 emperors' holy body, so terrifying. There is no doubt. With the fusion of the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at their peak, even if Lu En has no combat experience and has not mastered swordsmanship, Haki, etc., his strength can still be ranked at the top of the sea. Not to mention, in fact, as early as the moment when the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at their peak were fused, Lu En had awakened observation Haki, armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki congenitally. After all, it is normal for Lu En to awaken Conqueror's Haki naturally when he possesses the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at the same time. As we all know, there are very few super strong people in the pirate world. When they are born, because of their high physical talents, they do not need to practice deliberately at all, and they can awaken a certain type of Haki on their own. For example, the Red Count Buloric Redfield was once a super strong man of the old times who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Roger Pirates and Whitebeard Pirates. He was born with the awakening of observation Haki since he was a child. So, I, Lu En, have the fusion of the physical qualities of the 3-4 emperors at their peak. I am truly the world's best physique, the world's strongest physique, and the innate 4 emperors' holy body. Isn't it reasonable that I can awaken observation Haki, armament Haki, and Conqueror's Haki naturally? Chapter 3 Kizaru. Come on Marine, slack off with me at work, 3 more. It is no exaggeration to say that the Kaido of the beasts, which is known as the strongest creature on land, sea and air in the New World, is just a cute little crispy in front of Lu En at this moment. At the same time, when Lu En was lying on the rocking chair and fishing comfortably, Bread Village welcomed a group of unexpected visitors, a group of Marines in neat uniforms. Led by a Marine colonel named Karen, They arrived at the port of Bread Village on a warship and led about 40 or 50 Marines to enter Bread Village at the same time. The Marines who mobilized a large number of troops naturally attracted the attention of the villagers of Bread Village. They all cast curious eyes and did not feel fear or uneasiness. As the hometown of Marine Admiral Kizaru Borsellino, the villagers of Bread Village naturally would not be afraid of people from Marine. Old sir, I would like to ask, do you have a teenager named Lu En here? We received an order from Kizaru Admiral, and came here to personally invite Kizaru Admiral's nephew to join Marine. Colonel Karen asked very politely. Arriving at the hometown of Marine Admiral, he naturally did not dare to show off too much. Are you looking for that kid Lu En? Come on, I'll take you there. This kid is probably still lazy now, and he doesn't do anything all day. Fortunately, Borsellino didn't forget his nephew. Otherwise, I'm really worried that one day, Lu En would starve to death on the street because of laziness. A villager took the initiative to lead the way, still chattering along the way. Hearing this, Karen was stunned. It seemed that something was wrong. According to Kizaru Admiral's description, his nephew should not be positive, hardworking and diligent. How come the description of this villager is like a salted fish? Is there something wrong with the link? With inner confusion, Karen remained calm. Soon, the villagers took Marine, led by Karen, to the destination. Following the direction pointed by the villagers, Karen saw at a glance the boy sitting in the rocking chair in front of the door, with his legs crossed, wearing sunglasses, holding a bottle of juice in his hand and looking very comfortable. Under the sun, the boy's comfortable and lazy expression was very clear in Karen's eyes, subverting some of his previous beautiful fantasies. He is Lu En, the nephew of Admiral Kizaru? Karen asked weakly. This boy seems to have nothing to do with being positive and hardworking. Not bad. The villagers nodded. Exhaling gently, Karen tried his best to suppress the various complex emotions in his heart, thanked the villagers first, and then took a few Marines to the lazy boy sitting in the rocking chair. Mr. Lu En? Karen stopped by the rocking chair and asked tentatively. Who are you? Taking off his sunglasses, Lu En turned around and looked at the group of Marines led by Karen. With his eyesight, he could tell in an instant that the middle-aged Marine in front of him was quite strong, and his well-trained physique could not be faked at all. I am here to invite Mr. Lu En to join Marine on behalf of Admiral Kizaru. Karen got straight to the point and stated his purpose. Uncle. Lu En was a little surprised. Immediately, he shook his head and put on his sunglasses again. I didn't say I was going to join Marine. So, please go back and tell my uncle that I still like living in the village and don't want to leave here. I'm sorry to have made you go in vain. You just need to tell him the truth. I believe that my uncle will not blame you. Karen was a little embarrassed. The order he received was to take Lu En to Marine. Although Lu En in front of him seemed to be completely different from what Admiral Kizaru described, or even the opposite. But the mission was the mission, and he just had to execute it. After hesitating for a while, Karen spoke again to persuade him. But unexpectedly, Lu En was very firm about this. It completely showed that he had never thought of joining Marine. Joining Marine? You must be kidding. Isn't it nice to slack off? Overtime work in the last life led to sudden death. In this life, do you still want to make yourself a lucky person? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. With Lu En's strength, it is impossible for him to starve to death. If he wants to be rich and powerful, it is also very easy. If he wants, he can use various means, based on his own strong strength, to easily rule a kingdom and have countless wealth and beauties. But it is too tiring. It's not that Lu En can't do it, he just doesn't want to. In this life, he just wants to slack off, and doesn't want to work hard and busy like in the last life. So, it's impossible to join Marine. There is no future in being a pirate. The days in the Bread Village are like returning home. Everyone here is talented and I like it very much. Colonel Karen, don't persuade me anymore, I have made up my mind. You can just tell my uncle with Den Den Mushi, I will not join Marine. Lu En waved his hand and said no more. Karen was embarrassed. In desperation, he had to ask his men to take out a Den Den Mushi and dial it to the office at the Naval Headquarters. Bolu Bolu, accompanied by the unique sound of the Den Den Mushi, it was dialed in a short while. Please help me transfer the communication to Admiral Kizaru's office. I have important matters to report to Admiral Kizaru in person. Karen said. A moment. The unique lazy voice came from the Den Den Mushi. I am Kizaru, Colonel Karen. I remember you. You seem to be working in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town in North Blue. In other words, you have gone to Bread Village and are ready to bring my nephew to Marine? Admiral, your nephew is unwilling to join Marine and has repeatedly refused, with a very firm attitude. Karen responded helplessly. Hearing this, Kizaru thought for a while and said, Lu En is next to you. Give him the Den Den Mushi, and I will talk to him in person. Yes. Karen handed the Den Den Mushi to Lu En. Lu En took the Den Den Mushi and said with a satisfied look, Uncle, I know you are doing this for my own good. But I really don't want to be a Marine. It's better to leave the matter of maintaining justice in the ocean to others. Why? You are my only nephew. I don't want you to die of starvation on the street one day because of laziness. How can I face my dead sister? Kizaru thought about it carefully and guessed why his nephew didn't want to join the Marine. He said. Well, don't rush to refuse. The reason why I asked you to join Marine is purely to find you a stable job. Do you think Marine is very busy? Look at me, I have never worked overtime since first joined Marine. Listen to my uncle's advice. Join Marine, slack off at work, and get paid on time every month. Isn't that great? It's better than staying in the village and doing nothing all day. At least, after joining Marine, you can still be very free, and you can get paid for free, and you only need to slack off at work. If someone doesn't like your behavior and complains about you, just report your uncle's name. Your uncle still has some face here at Marine. After listening to Kizaru's advice, Lu En pondered for a moment. I have to say, according to his uncle's analysis, it seems that joining Marine is not all bad. Considering that his uncle slacks off all day and never works overtime, Lu En's eyes suddenly lit up. If you say so, it's not a bad idea to join Marine. You can slack off at work and get paid for free. This is the best news for slackers. It's also the job that Lu En dreamed of in his previous life. Just then, since Lu En crossed over, the system, which has been silent for several months, has finally seen some movement again. Sign-in location has been refreshed, North Blue Mushroom Town Marine Branch. Sign-in reward. Peak Haki plus Peak Dragon Slayer Ryoma plus Peak Kazuki Oden's Swordsmanship. Chapter 4 The strongest physique plus the strongest swordsmanship equals? Fourth update, please give flowers and votes. Is the reward for swordsmanship this time? Peak Haki plus Peak Ryoma plus Peak Oden's Swordsmanship? Seeing such a generous sign-in reward, Lu En couldn't help but be amazed. This sign-in reward is undoubtedly not inferior to the strongest physique for the first sign-in. There is no need to say much about Haki's swordsmanship level. He is the world's most worthy swordsman. Moreover, his swordsmanship level is far superior to other great swordsmen in this sea. He is the world's #1 with a cliff-like lead. Ryoma, the Dragon Slayer, is also a swordsman with extremely terrifying swordsmanship. Don't look at his body being stolen by Shichibukai Gecko Moria, stuffed into Brook's shadow and turned into a zombie, and finally defeated by the young version of Zoro. But in fact, Ryoma, the Dragon Slayer, is so good at swordsmanship that even if King Luffy defeated Zoro during the Four Emperors period, his swordsmanship level would definitely not catch up with Ryoma. Dragon Slayer Ryoma was a great swordsman who had never been defeated in the golden age of Wanakuna's heyday. He was a legendary swordsman and was praised by later generations as the God of Swords. He had never been defeated in his life. Ryoma's swordsmanship level may not be inferior to the current world's #1 swordsman Haki. As for why Ryoma was defeated by the young version of Zoro, we can only say that it was either a plot kill, or the zombie version of Ryoma was too much weakened. This is not nonsense, but there are traces to follow. For example, Captain John, who was once a cadre of Rock's pirate, was also resurrected by Gecko Moria in the form of a zombie and stuffed into the shadow. Isn't he still a soy sauce? But if Captain John was really so weak, how could he have served as a cadre of Rock's pirate? That was a pirate group formed by Rocks, the strongest man in the world. At that time, even the young version of Kaido was just a soy sauce, and Captain John was already a cadre. Finally, Kazuki Oden's swordsmanship at his peak. This is also an extremely powerful swordsman. He was able to injure Kaido and even almost killed him. If Kaido hadn't used a trick, he might not have been able to defeat Kazuki Oden. In particular, this is Kazuki Oden at his peak, not the young Oden who was killed instantly by the Pirate King Roger's God Avoidance. But after joining the Whitebeard Pirates and Roger Pirates, and arriving at the final island Raftel, and finally disembarking from the two famous pirate groups and returning to Wano Kuni, the peak Oden's swordsmanship after countless hardships. No matter which of these three famous swordsmen's swordsmanship level, there is no doubt that they were among the top 3 in the world at that time, and they might even be the best in the world. Let's ask, how powerful would the swordsmanship of 3 world-class swordsmen of different eras be? Unimaginable. Just like the reward Lu En got for the first sign-in. The fusion of the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak was simply too powerful to be imagined. This time was no different, the rewards were too generous. Not inferior to the rewards for the first sign-in. By then, won't I have both the world's strongest physique and the world's strongest swordsmanship? Lu En thought. The world's strongest physique alone was enough to make his strength rank at the top of the ocean. If he also got the world's strongest swordsmanship, his overall strength would be unimaginable. Kaido, Haki, Lin, I'm afraid that he would kill them all at once? The world's strongest physique plus the world's strongest swordsmanship equals? Just imagining it made Lu En's imagination run wild and he couldn't help himself. Lu En exhaled lightly and slightly suppressed the excitement in his heart. His eyes became firm. He had always believed that the improvement of one's own strength was for better fishing. He always stuck to his original intention. This point has never changed. If he had to practice and become stronger step by step, he would rather be a salted fish. Fortunately, the rewards given by the system only require signing in at the destination. This made Lu En very satisfied. This cheat is much more powerful than those such as God rewards hard work and deep blue points. Systems like God rewards hard work all require the host to work hard. However, the sign-in system that Lu En has is a one-step solution, and the rewards are all the peak abilities of various top sea masters. After a moment, Lu En returned the Den Den Mushi in his hand to Colonel Karen. A chat with Kizaru and the sign-in reward from the system gave Lu En enough reasons to join Marine. Isn't it just to join Marine? I don't want to be a so-called Marine Admiral, nor do I want to be a so-called Celestial Dragon's lackey. Then just be a salted fish Marine who fishes at work and does not disturb after get off work. This is Lu En's ultimate goal. Isn't it nice to get a salary for nothing? It's so nice, Colonel Karen, please give me more advice in the days to come. Lu En smiled. Mr. Lu En is polite. Karen looked polite. Although Lu En will most likely become his subordinate after joining Marine, he certainly doesn't dare to treat Lu En as an ordinary subordinate. This is Admiral Kizaru's nephew, one of the strongest connections in Marine. Who dares to look down on him? Next, Karen took the initiative to walk in front to lead the way for Lu En, while explaining. Mr. Lu En, to join the Marine, you need to go to the Marine branch in Mushroom Town to register. After registration, you will be a formal Marine. With Kizaru Admiral's endorsement, you don't need to participate in the Marine's training and tests, and there will be no internship period. You will start directly as a Marine. With the importance that Kizaru Admiral attaches to you, I guess that it won't be long before Kizaru Admiral will find a suitable reason to transfer you to the Naval Headquarters. By then, you will really be on the rise. At this point, Karen showed an envious expression. Whether it is the Marine of East Blue or North Blue, they all have a dream goal, that is, to return to the Naval Headquarters to serve. Karen is naturally no exception. The Marines serving in the Naval Headquarters are completely different from the Marines in other places such as East Blue and West Blue in terms of identity and status. Maybe everyone is a Marine Colonel, but the Marine Colonel of the Marine branch and the Marine Colonel of the Naval Headquarters are two completely different concepts. For example, eunuchs around the ancient emperors and other eunuchs, although they are all eunuchs, their identities and status are completely different, and there is no comparison at all. For another example, can the village chief of the surrounding area of the capital in the previous life be the same as the village chief of a remote place like you? They are two completely different things. Under the leadership of Colonel Karen, Lu En walked with a group of Marines to the port coast of Bread Village. Along the way, he met many villagers who gave him friendly and cordial smiles and greetings. As everyone learned that Lu En was going to the Marine branch to become a Marine, the villagers offered their heartfelt blessings. Lu En, you can't be lazy like before when you become a Marine. Work harder and aim for your uncle. I believe you can become the new Marine Admiral. Many villagers were joking. In response, Lu En rolled his eyes and didn't want to communicate too much. Become the new Marine Admiral? What a joke. I just want to be a salted fish. Slacking off at work in the Marine, punching in on time. Marine Admiral. Not even a dog. The highest position Lu En could bear in his heart was to become a Marine Vice Admiral. As for Admiral, whoever wants to be one can be one. Vice Admiral is so free. Let's go. Stepping onto the deck of the warship, Lu En stood on the edge of the deck fence, looking at the simple villagers at the port of Bread Village, and waved with a smile. In an instant, under the order of Colonel Karen, the helmsman immediately controlled the huge warship and began to set sail. The warship gradually went farther and farther in the eyes of the villagers, until it completely disappeared in the endless sea in the distance. Chapter 5. Admiral Kizaru's nephew seems unreliable, 5th update. Time flies. 2 days later, North Blue, sunny sea. The sun is shining and the sea is blue. On the endless sea, a medium-sized warship sailed over, pushing aside the calm sea surface and creating ripples, waves rolling and spreading wantonly. Crash, the waves created waves. On the deck of the warship, the golden sun was pouring down from the horizon. Lu En was lying on a sun lounger, wearing sunglasses, with his legs crossed on the edge of the deck fence. There was a small wooden table next to the sun lounger, on which were placed all kinds of desserts and drinks. Occasionally holding a drink and taking a sip, picking up a dessert and savoring it carefully, this comfortable and real life at sea always made people feel that Lu En was on a vacation. On the empty deck not far from Lu En, Marine soldiers in neat Marine uniforms were working very hard to receive daily training. Marine soldiers were sweating profusely, with the hot sun above their heads, each holding various training equipment in their hands to hone their physical fitness. In contrast, Lu En was lying on a sun lounger enjoying a sunbathe with this group of particularly hard-working Marine soldiers. This picture immediately formed a very strong visual contrast. On one side, he was lazy and comfortable, on the other side, he was hard and hard-working. From time to time, there would be a pair of complicated eyes fixed on Lu En. Obviously, Lu En's behavior has made this group of Marines dissatisfied, but due to Lu En's prominent background, they dare not vent their inner dissatisfaction. Everyone is a recruiter who has just joined the Marine, but Lu En is different. He is exempted from the hard training loan and lives a leisurely life like a salted fish every day. This will inevitably cause resentment among other Marine soldiers. Although as the nephew of Marine Admiral Kizaru, he has a prominent family background, but Lu En's unmotivated attitude still inevitably makes this group of Marines feel ashamed. Is he really Kizaru Admiral's nephew? How come he doesn't look like Kizaru Admiral at all? A young Marine who was in training couldn't help but lower his voice and complain. Actually, now that you put it that way, I suddenly understand why he is so lazy. It seems that Kizaru Admiral is also like this, right? He has nothing to do with hard work and diligence. After what you said just now, I think that he is a man with the same bloodline. Even their personalities are so similar, another Marine complained silently. Big Guts, Karen, a colonel, narrowed his eyes and angrily scolded the group of Marine soldiers who were whispering to each other, who told you to criticize Kizaru Admiral. Although Karen was a little dissatisfied with Lu En's lazy personality, he could do nothing about it. He has Kizaru Admiral as his backer. He originally joined the Marine branch of North Blue to get a gold medal. Sooner or later, he will be transferred to Naval Headquarters Marineford. In this case, Karen was unwilling to cause trouble and cause trouble. In his opinion, Lu En would not stay in the Marine branch of North Blue for too long, and he did not need to offend a second generation with a prominent family background during this time. Everyone kept to themselves. Kizaru Admiral said before that his nephew's talent in some aspects was better than his own. Karen's mouth twitched. So, the talent that Kizaru Admiral said, could it be the talent in laziness? After a series of observations over the past 2 days, Karen was basically certain. As Kizaru's nephew, Lu En did not look like someone who joined Marine to work hard, but rather someone who joined Marine to slack off and spend his days. In 2 days, Lu En had nothing to do with training. Karen certainly did not dare to force Lu En to receive training. But in his opinion, after joining Marine, Lu En, who had no training, would probably become a clerk in the Marine Logistics Department, sitting in the office and handling documents. In this sea of military power, people like Lu En who have no ambition at all really make Kalan feel disappointed. Forget it, even his uncle Kizaru Admiral doesn't care about his nephew. We outsiders should not meddle in other people's business. Kalan sighed helplessly. He originally thought that Kizaru Admiral's nephew was a talented and outstanding genius. But after observing him for 2 days, he found that all this was just his wishful thinking. This is just a second-rate person who eats and waits for death. Sure enough, anyone who joins the Marine through the back door is basically not a good person. It's really disappointing. With inner disappointment, Karen strictly supervised the group of Marine soldiers who were receiving training on the deck. Colonel Karen, a Sea King, appeared in the sea ahead. At this moment, a Marine hurried over to inform. I'll go check the situation first, and don't stop your training. Karen raised his eyebrows and left an order to the group of Marine soldiers in training. Next, Karen, who left with his subordinates, came all the way to the front of the warship deck. Looking forward, he clearly saw that a huge Sea King appeared on the endless sea ahead. This is a strange Sea King similar to the shape of a Madara horse, with huge eyeballs, exposed fangs, and black and white Madara horse lines on its body. The most prominent thing is not its appearance, but its size. Just like people's stereotype of Sea Kings, this Sea King is very large. Even though it was hiding under the sea, with Kurone's rich experience, he could roughly judge that the length of this Sea Kings was probably no less than 20 meters. Although it was not a super large Sea Kings, judging from the size of this Sea Kings, it was infinitely close to the category of large Sea Kings. The overall length of this Sea Kings was almost the same as the warship it was currently in. You can imagine how huge this Sea Kings was. Even if the Sea Kings flicked its tail, it would easily overturn the entire warship, causing all the Marines on the warship to be buried in the sea. Notify the helmsman to immediately bypass the activity area of this Sea Kings and avoid direct contact with the Sea Kings. Don't provoke it. Under normal circumstances, Sea Kings will not actively attack warships. Our warship is built with the latest material developed by Dr. Vegapunk, which can effectively shield the perception of Sea Kings and prevent Sea Kings from actively launching attacks. Karen gave the order very calmly. Yes, Colonel. The Marine subordinates left quickly and went to the helmsman to prepare to bypass the sea ahead. Even if it takes a long detour, it is necessary to avoid the Sea King's range of activities as much as possible, so as not to be regarded as a provocation by the Sea Kings and attract the Sea King's attack. In fact, in this sea, the most dangerous are never those vicious pirates. But Sea Kings are the most dangerous life. Not good, Colonel Karen, the Sea Kings are approaching us. It has discovered us. No, it seems to have regarded our entire warship as its prey. It's approaching so fast. Danger. The lookout on the wooden tower of the warship shouted in fear. I see it. Kurone's face sank, watching the huge Sea Kings approaching in front of him. His mood gradually fell to the bottom, but he did not feel desperate. As a Marine colonel, Kurone's strength should not be underestimated, otherwise he would not be in charge of a Marine branch in a town and lead hundreds of Marine soldiers. Notify the helmsman and tell him not to deliberately change the sailing route and take a long detour. Give it to me. Kurone's face was solemn, and he slowly took out the samurai sword he carried on his waist. Staring at the Sea Kings attacking from the front with a sharp gaze, he snorted coldly, since it wants to die, then I will grant it. It's just right, kill it and let the brothers have a snack. These days, we have been tired of eating those frozen ingredients in the kitchen. Fresh ingredients are delivered to our doorstep, so we should not miss them. Watch out, all of you. I will use this Sea Kings to teach you recruits a lesson. Even when facing an opponent that seems invincible, first of all, we must never lose the courage to fight with it. Don't look at the huge size of this Sea Kings, but in fact, it is just an empty size. As long as you keep a hard-working attitude like me, you will be able to do the same as me and become as strong as me. All around. The Marine soldiers, who were originally full of tension and anxiety, gradually relaxed their tense mood and cast eyes full of trust, expectation and admiration on Karen. Chapter 6 The Colonel takes action, and the Colonel falls, 6th update. I almost forgot that the last time Colonel Garan took us out to sea for a mission, he defeated the entire pirate group alone. He single-handedly wiped out hundreds of pirates, defeated the big pirate Barry with a bounty of 20 million, and successfully detained him. With Colonel Garen's strength, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with the mere Sea Kings. As the Colonel said, judging from the size, Sea Kings are indeed very oppressive, but they are just empty size. They are not Colonel Garen's opponents at all. Colonel Garan has killed Sea Kings before, and this time there will probably be no problem. The tension, anxiety, and panic brought to the entire warship by the Sea Kings were all resolved as Garan took out the samurai sword. One by one, the Marines looked relaxed, watching Garen's every move with the mentality of watching the show. Even in the face of the large and aggressive Sea Kings, they were not afraid. It is not difficult to see that they still have great confidence in Colonel Garen's strength. As the supreme commander of a town's marine branch, Garen's strength is beyond doubt. I hope some people can remember it firmly. In the final analysis, this sea is still about strength. The sea is a place where the weak are preyed upon by the strong. Without sufficient strength, even if you have a prominent family background, one day you will encounter an accident in this sea full of dangers. Some people obviously have an extremely prominent family background. With just a little effort, they can climb to a position that ordinary people can never imagine in their lifetime, but they have no ambition. It's really a pity. Karen held a samurai sword and faced the Sea Kings directly, his voice carrying a bit of indignation. These words immediately made all the Marines present fix their eyes on the lazy figure lying on the sun lounger on the deck not far away. There is no doubt. Everyone knows who Colonel Garen's words are mainly aimed at. Perhaps he has no ill intentions, he just hates iron for not being able to make steel. Angry at their lack of struggle, as a junior of Marine Admiral, he could have enjoyed countless resources to become stronger, but he had no ambition, wasting such a good background. In this dangerous sea, if you don't have enough strength, once you encounter danger, you can only pray to God to protect yourself from harm. This is the only thing the weak can do. Just like now, if there is no me, once you are attacked by Sea Kings, your final fate will most likely be buried in this sea, and the whole army will be annihilated. I hope you will keep in mind what happened today, and use it to spur you to devote extra time to training every day and become stronger. If you don't listen to my advice, then in time, you will encounter the same crisis as today again. At that time, there will be no me to resolve this crisis for you. Karen glanced at Lu and, not far away, hinting, then. He retracted his gaze. Watching the approaching Sea Kings, he clenched the sharp samurai sword in his right hand, his eyes were sharp, and a sharp sword energy emanated from his body. As a Marine colonel, Karen's strength was naturally not weak, and he had already mastered several of the Marine 6 styles, and his swordsmanship was outstanding. Even among the countless Marine colonels, his comprehensive strength was not the bottom stream. Here it comes. In full view of the crowd, everyone clearly saw that the Sea Kings was already close at hand, less than 10 meters away from the warship where everyone was currently. The fierce aura emanating from the Sea King's body rushed to the face, and the strong and pungent smell of blood filled the air around, making people feel nauseous. Pressure. The strong pressure swept all the Marines. Although they verbally did not take the Sea Kings seriously, neither Karen nor the Marines present would underestimate a huge Sea Kings. Colonel Karen is about to attack. Everyone was watching Karen's figure. Karen raised the samurai sword in his hand and slashed it at the Sea Kings who were attacking from the front. Ichito Ryu Ei. His eyes were sharp, and he gathered all the swordsmanship he had learned throughout his life, and released it all in an instant, turning it into a sharp sword energy slash that flew across the sky and rushed towards the Sea Kings who were less than 10 meters away. Swish! The sharp sword energy slash cut through the sky, bursting out a sharp and piercing sound of breaking through the air, as if forming a sonic boom, making people feel ringing in their ears and deafness. Wallala! Where the slash passed, the aftermath seemed to cut through the sea surface and set off ripples, waves rolling, and water splashes dancing in the air. The dazzling slash that emitted a brilliant light hit the head of the attacking Sea Kings from the front in just one encounter. Boom, accompanied by a shocking loud noise. It was like a thunderous roar. The slashing force was so violent that it was about to cut off the Sea King's head from the front. Thank you for offering yourself to be our dinner tonight. Seeing that Sea Kings took the slash from the front, Karen couldn't help but smile faintly, feeling that he had won, and then slowly put the samurai sword back to his waist and wore it. It's done. Colonel Karen is still strong. A mere Sea King is not to be feared at all. All the Marines cheered. At this moment, but an untimely voice appeared. It seems not right. That Sea King is not dead yet. A scream broke the cheerful atmosphere. Huh? Garen's face changed slightly, and he turned his head quickly, staring at the Sea King hiding in front of him under the sea. But he saw. The Madara horse-shaped Sea King that was hit in the head was not only alive, but also did not even break or crack the place where it was hit, and the bloodline did not overflow. It seemed that even the skin was not broken, the defense was not broken at all. The Sea Kings did not break the defense, but Kuron's heart was directly broken. How is it possible? It's completely unscathed. Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. His full-strength blow didn't even scratch the skin of this Sea King? This result made the Karen people dumbfounded, at the same time. The jubilant Marines also reacted and realized the shocking truth that the Sea King was completely unscathed. They changed color, their eyes widened, and a trace of fear gradually rose in their hearts. Colonel Karen's full-strength attack didn't cause any injuries to this Sea King? Is it fake? Even Colonel Karen can't do anything? Then won't we be wiped out? Buried in this sea? A second ago, a group of Marines were jubilant and vowed. But now, these Marines immediately cried, as if their parents had died at home. Their faces were pale and bloodless, their bodies were stiff, and cold sweats were pouring down their backs. No, it's attacking again. Colonel Kuron's knife just now seems to have angered it, it's attacking us several times faster than before. It's over, accompanied by the panicked screams of Marines. The whole warship was in a state of panic. Originally, the two sides were only more than 10 meters apart, but under the impact of the furious Sea Kings, the two sides were less than 2 or 3 meters apart. The Sea Kings only need to flick its tail to overturn the entire warship, making all the Marines fall into the sea like dumplings and become the food of the Sea Kings. I am a great Marine colonel, but in the end, am I going to die in the mouth of a Sea King? Become the food of a Sea King? Karen was terrified. At close range, watching the Sea Kings open its huge fangs, Kuron's heart trembled. The huge eyeballs, the pupils were full of tyranny, and Karen trembled all over, his face turned pale, and his right hand holding the samurai sword trembled slightly. A trace of cold sweat flowed down from his forehead. Everyone on the warship fell into despair. Even Karen was at his wits' end. Alas! In the atmosphere of despair, a sigh sounded faintly. No one heard it, and no one cared. I saw, not far away. Lu En, who was wearing sunglasses, had slowly stood up from the sun lounger. He walked all the way to the front of the deck. He took advantage of the situation and directly pulled away the Marine Colonel Karen, who was now stiff and trembling all over, with one hand, causing the latter to stagger and almost fall to the ground. Lu En walked step by step to the front of the deck. Chapter 7 Conquerors. The whole audience was shocked. 7th update. You. Karen, who was almost pulled to the ground by Lu En, looked at Lu En's back with astonishment on his face. He opened his mouth, but was speechless for a moment. Karen admitted, this time, he was really scared. Although he was a Marine colonel and the highest commander of a town's Marine branch, he had captured many pirates with bounties of tens of millions. But this was his first time encountering such unreasonable Sea Kings. It was normal for him to be at a loss, he thought. The Sea Kings in front of him was no different from the ones he had encountered before. If he couldn't block his knife, he would become their food tonight. But he didn't expect that he couldn't even scratch the skin of the Sea King after he hit it with all his strength. It was impossible to break the defense. The extraordinary and amazing defense of the Sea Kings made Karen feel desperate. It's useless. Give up, it's not something we can deal with. My full strength attack couldn't even break its defense. This is totally unreasonable. This Sea King is most likely a deep-sea Sea King, and it's not at the same level as the near-shore Sea Kings. We can only pray that there will be reinforcements from our marine nearby. Perhaps using artillery fire can scare off this Sea King. If we rely solely on personal strength, unless we let a strong man at the level of Vice Admiral take action, otherwise, there is basically no chance of winning. Karen shook his head bitterly. He felt. Lu En in front of him probably didn't want to sit and wait for death, and wanted to take the initiative to attack and repel this Sea King. But in his opinion, this is simply impossible. Even he, a Marine colonel, is helpless. Could a recruiter who just joined the Marine, a lazy salted fish, still do anything about this Sea King? Even Kizaru Admiral's nephew, I'm afraid he can't do anything. Even if Admiral Kizaru was young, it would be impossible for him to fight off his Sea Kings alone, right? Karen had this thought. He regretted it a little. If Lu En made a mistake, he had no idea how to explain it to Kizaru. This is Admiral Kizaru's nephew, his only descendant. It's over, it's over. Karen was not the only one who had the same idea as him, but all the Marines on the warship were also feeling desperate, fearful, and powerless. Watching. The Sea Kings had already become a huge wave, and its huge fangs fell from the sky, trying to tear the entire warship apart. Everyone was in despair and could not hope for luck. Even Colonel Karen couldn't deal with the Sea Kings, let alone us. If I had known earlier, I would have immediately changed the rudder and turned away the moment I encountered the Sea Kings. It's too late to say anything now. Some Marines were desperate, and they noticed that Lu En was already at the front of the warship deck. What is he going to do? Someone asked. I guess he doesn't want to sit and wait for death. Admiral Kizaru's nephew is courageous. But it's useless. If he doesn't train hard, what's the point of cramming now? Even Colonel Karen was defeated. Can this Admiral's nephew still repel this Sea King? Don't be ridiculous. With his lazy temperament, even we can easily defeat him. Expecting him to deal with a Sea King? it's just wishful thinking. Marine wailed in despair. I've tried so hard. Karen clenched his fists, his face full of unwillingness. After all, it's not strong enough. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lu En stood at the front of the warship deck, facing the attacking Sea King alone. From a close distance, he could see the sharp fangs of the Sea King, which was about to bite the warship. Like the fangs of a crocodile, it looked particularly ferocious and vicious. Lu En slowly raised his head, without taking off his sunglasses, and looked at the horse-like Sea Kings of Madara in a calm manner. Get lost. His eyes hidden under the sunglasses suddenly flashed with a sharp brilliance, like a dark red lightning flashing from his eyeballs, and bursting out from the inside out at any time. Buzz. Buzz. An invisible aura was released from Lu En's body along with his thoughts. An invisible airflow like a circle was formed, with Lu En's body as the center point, spreading rapidly and rushing towards the body of the large Sea Kings in front. Boom! An incomparable terrifying momentum burst out from Lu En's body. At the beginning, this momentum was like a gurgling stream, but in a blink of an eye, the momentum changed drastically, as if it had ushered in the waves of a storm, and the waves were surging. The air current blew Lu En's clothes. The terrifying aura covered the Sea King's body. This is Lu En's Conqueror's Haki. After integrating the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak, the Conqueror's Haki was awakened by nature. It can be understood that Lu En was born to awaken and control the Conqueror's Haki. The earth-shaking Conqueror's Haki, starting from Lu En's body, seemed to be twisted and collapsed by the shock. The Conqueror's Haki that erupted from Lu En's body at the first time covered the ferocious pupils of Madara's horse-like Sea Kings, and gradually began to disperse, losing the ferocity and violence at the beginning. In less than a second, the Conqueror's Haki directly crushed the spirit and consciousness of Madara's horse-like Sea Kings, making it lose consciousness and the ability to act independently on the spot. Its scarlet eyes gradually lost color and turned white. Like a dead fish turning over, revealing white eyes. Foaming at the mouth. At the same time, the Sea Kings' move to attack the warship came to an abrupt halt. Having lost consciousness, it also lost control of its body. With powerlessness all over its body, it fell headfirst into the sea. Boom! With a dull bang, the upright body of the Sea Kings, which had been standing on the sea surface, fell heavily into the sea. Crash! The Sea Kings fell into the sea, causing waves on the sea surface, and the waves rolled and rippled. The waves flew in the air, and drops of water fell from the sky onto the deck of the warship and fell on many Marines. I saw. The huge Sea Kings floated on the sea surface, motionless, and still completely unconscious. At this moment, Marines were dumbfounded, and confused. They stared with their eyes wide open, looking at the Sea Kings that had completely fainted on the sea. No matter it was the other Marines or the Marine Colonel Karen, they were all dumbfounded. Deathly silence. The whole place was in deathly silence. It was completely silent. The entire warship fell into a deathly silence. Everyone was completely dumbfounded. The large and aggressive Sea Kings, which even Colonel Karen could not do anything about, had just strangely fallen into a coma. All this was beyond everyone's expectations. It also overturned everyone's cognition. One by one, all of them were stagnant in place, motionless and stiff. Fortunately, this atmosphere did not last too long. Because Lu En took the initiative to break this weird atmosphere. He turned around and walked towards the Sun Lounger step by step, leaving a word at the same time. Don't just stand there like an idiot. Hurry up and inform the chef to lead some people to cut the edible parts of the Sea King. Otherwise, more Sea Kings will come and our dinner tonight will be ruined. It just so happens that we have been eating frozen food for the past 2 days and our appetite has become dull. This Sea King that is delivered to our door can be used as fresh food to add to everyone's meal and improve the food. After saying that, Lu En lay down on the Sun Lounger again, wearing sunglasses and crossing his legs, looking extremely comfortable. It seemed that he didn't care about what he had just done. And with Lu En's words, the silent atmosphere was broken in an instant. In an instant, the silent atmosphere was fully ignited. The whole audience was shocked. Chapter 8. Karen is shocked. The real monster, 8 more chapters asking for flowers and votes. What happened? Aren't we going to die? How come that Sea King that was coming with such a strong momentum suddenly fell down so strangely? What on earth is going on? The Marines showed expressions of shock, astonishment, and shock. They were confused and puzzled. What happened just now was incomprehensible to them, but even so, it was difficult to offset the strong sense of shock in their hearts. The scene of a large Sea King being killed instantly without a sound undoubtedly brought them an unprecedented visual impact. It completely refreshed their worldview. That was a Sea King that even Colonel Caron's full-strength attack could not break. How could it suddenly fall down? And it was killed in an instant. Unbelievable. Throughout the whole process, I don't even know what kind of power hit this Sea King, causing it to faint in the sea on the spot. With our strength, can we even see it clearly? The whole audience was in an uproar. All the Marines showed their strong sense of shock in their hearts. I thought we were doomed just now. A Marine wiped the sweat from his forehead, his lips trembling. But, can anyone explain to me what exactly is going on? Even Colonel Karen, the supreme commander of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town, the recognized strongest person in the nearby sea area, was helpless against a sea king's. I never thought. In the end, he was killed instantly. The Marine found it hard to accept. Could it be him? A weak voice sounded. Everyone knew who this person was talking about. That person, Kizaru Admiral's nephew. A second generation who was previously regarded as a slacker and lived a lazy life by them. Gurgle, a Marine swallowed his saliva involuntarily, recalling the scene of the Sea Kings being killed instantly just now, and then thinking of the lazy appearance of the slacker. The two completely different and sharp contrasts made them doubt their lives. Is it really the work of that man? Is that man really that strong? He was able to kill a Sea King that even Colonel Karen could not break through in 1 second. What kind of terrifying strength is this? The more Marine thought about it, the more frightened he became. Too powerful. Powerful beyond imagination. It may be more than 10,000 times more powerful than Colonel Karen. After all, even Colonel Karen could not break through the defense of that Sea King, which shows that this Sea King is definitely not an ordinary Sea King. However, such a difficult and powerful Sea King was killed instantly by that man. What kind of concept is this? Too strong. I never dared to imagine that he is not just a second generation. His strength seems to be as strong as a monster. Is he really worthy of being the nephew of Admiral Kizaru? Such terrifying strength makes me feel that even the Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters is far inferior to him. He defeated a Sea Kings that even the Colonel could not break in one encounter. With such strength, he must have started at the Vice Admiral level, right? Don't say it. I feel guilty for my dissatisfaction with him before. It turns out that he is not too lazy or unwilling to train. It's just that he is much stronger than us. He doesn't need to train like us. This is the correct answer. A pair of eyes full of awe and admiration. Shocked eyes, all fixed on Lu En. At this moment, in the eyes of these Marines, Lu En exudes a stronger brilliance than Marine Vice Admiral. That man, he looks like he's only in his teens. He must be 16 at most. He already has such a strong strength. Even Admiral Kizaru back then was no more than that, right? Another monster who has the potential to be an admiral at such a young age. 2 admirals in one family? After Admiral Kizaru's nephew is also going to challenge the position of admiral? Wow. There was a lot of discussion. At this time, Marine Colonel Karen gradually woke up. Conqueror's Haki. His throat was dry, and he couldn't help but open his mouth. His eyes were blank for a while, and he blurted out subconsciously. As a Marine Colonel, he naturally had more knowledge and a broader range than other Marine recruits. Other Marines didn't know what the power that killed the Sea Kings just now was, but Karen knew it clearly. There is no doubt. That power is definitely the legendary Conqueror's Haki. Only those who truly have the potential of a king can awaken this terrible power. 1 in a million. It is precisely because of this that Karen's inner shock is far greater than that of other Marines. As the saying goes, those who don't know are not afraid. Only those who truly understand the terrible power of Conqueror's Haki will be shocked by the fact that Lu En, a young man of only 16 years old, can already control Conqueror's Haki independently. This is the case with Karen. He knew a lot and was more shocked than others. It can't be wrong. That power. Karen took a deep breath, and his shocked mood could not calm down for a long time. I never expected that Kizaru Admiral's nephew actually possessed Conqueror's Haki. A monster with the potential of a king. At this moment, he couldn't help but recall his previous targeted remarks, and his heart was filled with bitterness, shame, and regret. What kind of powerful existence was I hinting at before? Fortunately, that man didn't care too much about me. Thinking of this, Karen quietly breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. I said, how could Kizaru Admiral's nephew be a weak person? This is simply nonsense. But I didn't expect it after all. Kizaru Admiral's nephew seems to be even more of a monster than Kizaru Admiral back then. Karen thought. Back then, Kizaru, Aokiji, and Akainu were called the 3 monsters of the young generation of Marines. But now, in Kuron's opinion, those 3 are probably far inferior to the one in front of him. The one in front of him is the real monster. A monster who is only 16 years old and has already mastered Conqueror's Haki very skillfully. Is there an existence that is more monstrous than the 3 admirals back then? The more Karen thought about it, the more frightened he became. He carefully glanced at the figure lying on the sun lounger, fearing that he would be noticed by the other party, and he quickly retracted his gaze after just one glance. After a while, gradually suppressing the strong sense of shock in his heart, Karen sternly scolded the group of slack Marine recruits. Stop chatting, you all immediately devote yourself to training wholeheartedly. It seems that you can't stop talking unless you completely drain all your energy. Under Kuron's scolding, the communication of this group of Marine recruits was restrained, and they gradually re-entered their respective training. However, when they were training, they would look at Lu En with awe and admiration from time to time. Seeing this, Karen couldn't scold too much, after all. Even now, he still couldn't calm down. Go and inform the chef to arrange some people to cut the edible parts of the Sea Kings. Put the uneaten ones in the ice cave for refrigeration, so as not to waste them. The meat of this level of deep-sea Sea Kings is very fresh and delicious. Tell the chef not to save ingredients, and make a good meal tonight. And Mr. Lu N's portion must be made by the chef to the best. At the end, Kuron's face became extremely serious, and he gave a serious order to the Marine beside him. Yes, Colonel. After a while, with extremely complicated thoughts, Karen came all the way to the deck at the rear of the warship, prepared to blow the cool sea breeze to relieve the shock in his heart. At this time, standing next to him was his most trusted confidant, a Marine major named Bart. Recalling what happened just now, even until now, Major Bart still couldn't suppress his shock. He looked at Karen and thought that as a Marine colonel and the highest commander of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town, he should know some secrets. So, he couldn't help asking, "Colonel Karen, do you know what that method was just now? It's too terrible. Mr. Lu N is stronger than I can imagine." Chapter 9 Kizaru. Is my nephew qualified to be an admiral? Update 1, 3K chapter. Facing the question from his trusted subordinate, Karen looked at the distant sea with a little absent-mindedness. The sea surface was rippling with ripples caused by the sailing of warships. Some secrets are deliberately covered up by the world government, such as some secrets involving Haki. If everyone in the entire sea knew that they could learn Haki with just effort and master a powerful force far beyond ordinary people, this would naturally cause a certain shake in the ruling power of the world government. Even as a Marine colonel and the highest commander of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town, Karen's understanding of Haki is only half understood. It was only by relying on more than 10 or 20 years of hard work in the Marine that he occasionally heard some information about Haki from some senior Marine officers, but most of this information is incomplete. Karen may not know the detailed practice method of Haki, but he can still more or less simply answer the questions from his subordinate Bart. There are many powerful forces beyond common sense in this sea, for example, devil fruit, and Haki. The former requires coincidence, a certain amount of luck, or financial resources to get and eat devil fruit. This method of enhancing strength cannot be copied. But the latter, Haki, is a kind of power that can be copied. Even ordinary people can master such power through hard training. Among them, Haki is divided into 3 types: observation Haki, armament Haki, and the last Conqueror's Haki. Karen spoke slowly. Haki. Bart's heart was slightly shaken. He realized, he has touched the deepest power hidden in this sea. Of the 3 types of Haki, the first 2 can be mastered by ordinary people after hard training. Only the latter is the most special, and it is also a powerful force that ordinary people can never master no matter what. Some qualifications are either born with them, or, no matter how hard you work, you will never have such qualifications. Because some people, born different, born kings. For example, Mr. Lu N, the nephew of Kizaru Admiral. He is such a born king who is born different. A monster with the potential of a king. Karen said, "Born king. No matter what, you will never have such qualifications." Bart's throat was dry. Reality is cruel, but it is also reasonable. Some qualifications are born with them. If you have them, you have them. If you don't, you don't. For example, people's IQ. Some people are born with penultimate IQ, while some people's IQ is very mediocre, and they can never change it. Some things can never be done no matter how hard you try. If you don't have that kind of qualification, all your efforts will be in vain. Mr. Lu N is a natural monster. Bart's eyes were blank. Only monsters that claim to have the potential to be a king can awaken the legendary Conqueror's Haki, and this kind of monster is 1 in a million in the entire ocean. Mr. Lu N just killed that sea kings in a second with just 1 encounter, which is the power of Conqueror's Haki. If this power is aimed at us, there is no doubt that Mr. Lu N only needs 1 encounter to wipe out all the Marines in our entire warship. Even I am very likely to be unable to withstand the impact of Conqueror's Haki. This is a kind of momentum impact from the spirit, and it cannot be stopped without strong enough willpower. Kuron's tone was full of awe, the potential of a king. 1 in a million. The real monster of the sea. These shocking adjectives shocked Bart, who was Kuron's confidant. After a pause, Karen continued, and people like Mr. Lu N, who is only 16 years old, not only awakened the Conqueror's Haki, which is 1 in a million. Moreover, it is rare to practice this power to the point of being handy. Even monsters with the potential of a king need to trigger certain media, or be taught by someone, to slowly awaken and master such power. But Mr. Lu N. At this point, Kuron's eyes were full of amazement. He is a real monster. Without anyone teaching him, he not only awakened Conqueror's Haki on his own, but also mastered it. In Kuron's opinion, even Kizaru Admiral, one of the top combat forces in Marine, does not have Conqueror's Haki. And Lu N, the nephew of Kizaru Admiral, has never left North Blue. Therefore, the other party is most likely not exposed to any orthodox Conqueror's Haki teaching. In this case, the other party was still able to awaken Conquerors and master it at the age of 16. Such talent is a bit terrifying. Karen felt that the literary vocabulary in his mind was too small, so he could only use 6 words to describe such a monster. Innate Haki holy body. So terrifying. After listening to his boss, Karen's many introductions, Bart was secretly shocked, and his mood was as turbulent as the waves of the storm. Monsters are always different. For example, the 3 admirals with the highest combat power in our Marine, each has a unique personality. Only real monsters can enjoy unique treatment and privileges. Karen solemnly instructed Bart, later, remember to tell those recruiters not to disturb Mr. Luen. Understood. Bart nodded. Then, he turned and left. Alone on the rear deck of the warship, Karen thought for a moment, then slowly took out the Den Mushi and dialed the communication from Naval Headquarters. At the same time, far in the front half of the Grand Line, close to the Red Line, Naval Headquarters, Marineford, Admiral Kizaru, one of the highest combat power in Marine, was receiving a sign from Marshal Sengoku and was waiting for orders in the Marshal's office. However, at this moment, Bolu, the unique sound of the Den Mushi sounded. Kizaru was slightly stunned. When he came to his senses, he realized that he had accidentally brought all the Den Mushi in the office with him. So, he immediately took out the Den Mushi and glanced at Marshal Sengoku, who was sitting in a chair with a serious face. After receiving the latter's signal, he connected the Den Mushi. Admiral Kizaru, I am Colonel Karen of the Marine branch of North Blue Mushroom Town. After the call was connected, a familiar voice came from the Den Mushi. He had just chatted with the other party a few words not long ago, so naturally he didn't forget the other party's voice so quickly. What's the matter? Has my nephew successfully joined the Marine? Kizaru asked. Apart from the matter involving his own nephew Luen, he really couldn't think of what big things the other party, a small Marine colonel, could talk to him about. Nephew? Kizaru has a nephew? Has he been arranged to join Marine? Sengoku, who was eavesdropping openly, lay on the chair and looked at Kizaru in surprise. Although Marine's intelligence network is pervasive, it is not easy to check the various news and intelligence involving Marine Admiral, the highest combat power of Marine. Admiral Kizaru, I have thought about it and think I should inform you in advance so that you will not be unprepared in the future. This matter involves your nephew Mr. Luen. Karen said. Kizaru, just say it directly, Karen. Do you know that your nephew Luen not only awakened Conqueror's Haki, but also can freely control this power at will? After listening, Kizaru was stunned on the spot. What the hell? He opened his mouth and was speechless for a while. Conqueror's Haki, my lazy nephew Luen, who is as lazy as a salted fish. He actually awakened Conqueror's Haki? He is actually a natural king. He has the potential to be a king. This is obviously beyond Kizaru's expectations. He was originally thinking about finding a safe logistics department and arranging his nephew Luen to work as a clerk in the Marine Logistics Department, so that at least he would not starve to death. But he never expected. Luen is a hidden man. He is actually a monster with conquerors. Could it be that I have been wrong for so many years? Or, this kid is hiding too deeply, at this moment. Kizaru couldn't help but have a thought in his mind. My nephew Luen. Could it be that he has the talent of an admiral? Chapter 10. Arms Deal. Vinsmoke Family, Update 2. After hanging up the Den Mushi communication, Kizaru's mind was still lingering, that North Blue Colonel Karen, who gave a detailed introduction about his own nephew Luen. He was so shocked that he couldn't calm down for a long time. After a long silence, Kizaru remembered that he was still in the Marshal's office. Marshal Sengoku, I'm sorry, my nephew seems to have done something unexpected, which really amazed me and was beyond my imagination. Kizaru was amazed again and again. It's okay, it's okay. Sengoku stared at Kizaru with burning eyes, and asked directly, so, you still have a nephew? Your own nephew? A monster with the potential of a king? A monster who has mastered Conqueror's Haki? Hearing this, Kizaru nodded. Sengoku laughed excitedly. Okay, join the Marine. Monsters like your nephew should join the Marine to maintain justice and order in this sea. Kizaru's face became strange. Maintain justice and order in the sea? He didn't think so. His lazy nephew joined Marine for these boring things. But Kizaru would not tell Sengoku these words. When you are free, bring your nephew here so that I can see him. A monster like this who has awakened and controlled Conqueror's Haki at such a young age is unprecedented in our entire Marine. The reason why Sengoku was so excited was closely related to the current embarrassing situation of Marine. You also know that in recent years, our Marine has been in a period of transition. The last generation of excellent seedlings can be traced back to Smoker's generation. But in fact, Smoker is just more prominent, not that outstanding. Compared to your era, there were 3 monsters, you, Sakazuki, and Kuzan. Today's Marine is completely in a period of transition. The young generation who can be the face of Marine is only Smoker, Hina and the like. But they can hardly carry the banner of justice for Marine. Sengoku couldn't help complaining. Look at how many powerful new pirates have emerged in this sea in recent years. On the other hand, what about our Marine? Only Smoker and Hina are a little useful, and the others are all crooked. And in recent years, pirates have emerged with Cavendish and Firefist Ace, each of which is a real monster. Compared with them, Smoker and Hina are far inferior. Speaking of the quality of the new generation of Marine in recent years, Sengoku was extremely helpless. In recent years, the quality of Marine and the new generation of pirates is simply incomparable. As the Marine Marshal, Sengoku is naturally worried about this every day, but he can't do anything about it. It's all because of that damn Roger. He's dead, so be it. Before he died, he still made people worry, and he opened the so-called Great Pirate Era. It's well known. People who are not born with the potential of a king may not necessarily be unable to become the top powerhouses of the sea. Everything is possible. But one thing is certain, a monster with Conqueror's Haki will definitely become the top powerhouse of the sea in the future. This is why Sengoku is so eager for Kizaru and can't wait to meet his unknown nephew. The other party is carrying Conqueror's Haki, which means he is destined to become the top powerhouse of the sea in the future. What Marine lacks most now is this new generation of monsters with great potential. Marshal Sengoku, it's useless for you to tell me this. In recent years, the salary and benefits of Marine have been constantly deducted and reduced by those guys above. Under such circumstances, it would be strange if there are still good seedlings willing to join Marine. It's difficult for me too. Over the years, has Marine ever thought that it is his own problem, whether his salary and benefits have increased, whether he has worked hard? Kizaru spread his hands. Sengoku. After thinking for a while, he reminded Kizaru emphatically. Your nephew's joining Marine must be treated with caution and not be careless. If this monster does not join Marine, it will definitely be a huge loss for the entire Marine. If he runs away to become a pirate, we are afraid that we will have no place to cry. Don't be like that old thing Garp. He failed to teach his two grandsons well, and they all ran away to become pirates. It's a shame. If a monster like your nephew becomes a pirate, I can be sure that he will be one of the most troublesome monsters in this seaforest Marine in the future. Kizaru has been unable to completely accept the fact that his own nephew Lu En suddenly transformed from a lazy salted fish to a monster with great potential and the future star of Marine. Just then, the door of the marshal's office was kicked open by someone, accompanied by a heroic and rough laugh. Sengoku, I just heard you say bad things about me. Seeing the figure of the person coming, Sengoku's mouth twitched. Veins popped out on his forehead and he roared in anger. Garp, North Blue. The sun was setting, night falls. It's late at night. The sea is calm, and the sea surface is like a smooth mirror, reflecting the crescent moon hanging high in the sky. The moonlight falls down, and the soft white halo carries a hint of chill. The moon is reflected in the sea. Sometimes you can faintly catch that under this dark sea, there are huge sea kings hidden, they are competing for prey and fighting. The sea at night is very quiet. Not far away, a medium-sized warship is slowly sailing according to the originally planned sailing route. The warship broke the calm sea surface, raising ripples and waves. The Marines who had just had a full meal on the warship have returned to their collective dormitories to sleep together, and bursts of unrhythmic snoring sounded, which was particularly harsh in this quiet sea area. In the evening, several chefs on the warship worked together to use the deep-sea sea kings as fresh ingredients to steam delicious dishes that made countless Marines drool. The warship's watchtower. The Marine in a Marine uniform yawned. Feeling very tired, he supported the wooden fence of the watchtower with both hands, patted his cheeks, and tried his best to stay awake and observe the movements in the nearby sea area at all times. There shouldn't be any big movements in the middle of the night, right? The lookout thought. From time to time, he picked up the telescope and observed the slightest movement in the surrounding sea area diligently. When he picked up the telescope again to observe the sea area ahead, the lookout shuddered all over, as if his body was poured with a basin of cold water, and the sleepiness was swept away in an instant, and the whole person became particularly energetic and sober. There is a situation. The lookout widened his eyes, stared through the telescope in his hand, and stared at the sea area not far ahead, carefully observing the detailed situation of that sea area. With his rich experience as a lookout for many years, he could roughly judge. At this moment, two pirate ships were meeting each other in the sea area about 5 kilometers away from their entire warship. There was no exchange of fire between the two sides. Obviously, this was the meeting place that the two pirate ships had agreed on long ago. Trading? Are they trading? The lookout quickly made a judgment. What was the content of the transaction? With doubts in his heart, the lookout continued to observe. Finally, he came to an astonishing conclusion. They're trading arms. And it's a large amount of arms. Have we mistakenly entered the scene of arms trading? The frightened lookout immediately pressed the alarm of the warship. However, just as he pressed the alarm of the warship, he was horrified to realize that the two groups of pirates who were trading arms in front seemed to have discovered the warship he was in. And they also mobilized artillery fire in the direction of the warship. Seeing this, the lookout's pupils shrank, and he shouted in a voice that was almost a roar. Go and inform Colonel Karen, the warship is about to be attacked by unknown pirates. After a more careful observation, he couldn't help but let out a cry of fear, as if he had discovered a more shocking truth. Wait, among the two pirate ships trading arms, one of them seems to be from Vinsmoke family. In the huge North Blue, you may not know Marine, you may not know the many royal families of North Blue, even, you may not know the world government. But you absolutely cannot not know the Vinsmoke family. The Vinsmoke family is recognized as the king of North Blue. It is also the supreme ruler and decision-maker of many royal families in North Blue. Even the world government is very afraid of it, and has to publicly admit that the Vinsmoke family has the royal status of a member country of the world government. This shows the dominance and influence of the Vinsmoke family in North Blue can be seen. Madara. The well-deserved King of North Blue, Chapter 11, King of North Blue, Don Quixote Family, Update 3. When the lookout saw the Vinsmoke family's ship, his whole body tensed up, his face turned slightly pale, and he panicked. How could it be? Have we mistakenly entered the Vinsmoke family's arms trading site? It's a big trouble. He has realized the seriousness of the problem. The Vinsmoke family, the king of North Blue, is not just a name. Let alone Marine. In North Blue, even the world government has to give in to the Vinsmoke family. For example, there has always been a saying in North Blue. You can provoke Marine. You can also provoke the world government, but you must never provoke the Vinsmoke family. From this sentence, we can see how terrible the influence and power of the Vinsmoke family in North Blue is. The Vinsmoke family is also the only example in the world that does not have a fixed territory, but can still become one of the member states of the world government as the North Blue royal family. After a while, Colonel Karen came to the deck. The lookout immediately jumped down from the height and came to Karon's side. With a tense face, he quickly told the truth. Colonel Karen, we seem to be in big trouble. We mistakenly entered the arms trading site of the Vinsmoke family. They have found us, and are mobilizing artillery fire to aim at the direction of our warship. Hearing this, Karon's heart trembled slightly. He stared at the lookout with a serious face, holding his shoulders tightly with both hands, and asked, Are you sure? Are you sure it's the Vinsmoke family? As the highest commander of the Marine branch of North Blue Mushroom Town, Karen certainly knows how much power the Vinsmoke family has in North Blue. He is just a small Marine colonel, and there is no comparison with the behemoth Vinsmoke family. The king of North Blue, the Vinsmoke family, we actually ran into it by chance. Moreover, we ran into an arms transaction between them. Karen felt a headache and felt extremely heavy. Colonel Karen, what should we do? One Marine after another walked out of the deck, looking at Karen nervously, waiting for his instructions. After learning that the one trading arms was the king of North Blue, the Vinsmoke family, all the Marines present lost their usual composure and became uneasy and confused. I can only say, the Vinsmoke family has ruled North Blue for so many years, and the psychological shadow left on everyone in North Blue, including the Marines, is unimaginably heavy. As Marines, everyone naturally has justice in their hearts. Seeing the pirates blatantly selling arms, and in large quantities, they naturally want to stop it. But the problem is, the one trading arms is the king of North Blue, the Vinsmoke family. This makes them very powerless. Colonel, it's not good. The two pirate ships are approaching us. Another Marine screamed in panic. Be quiet. Karen rubbed his temples and scolded in a low voice. Even if Marine encounters the Vinsmoke family in North Blue, it may not be able to escape unscathed. Especially, the Vinsmoke family will not reason with Marine. With the dominance and influence of the Vinsmoke family in North Blue, even if their warship is sunk here, Marine can only hold the Vinsmoke family accountable at most, and cannot mobilize troops to target the Vinsmoke family for them. Colonel, the situation seems to be wrong. In addition to the Vinsmoke family, I also noticed that there are peripheral members of the Don Quixote family on another pirate ship. Marine Major Bart came to Caron's side and told him the truth in a low voice. Damn it. Karen cursed inwardly. The Vinsmoke family, the king of North Blue, had already given him a headache and he was at a loss. Now, he didn't expect that there would be another Don Quixote family, a terrorist force under the command of 7 warlords of the Sea Doflamingo. Obviously, in this arms transaction tonight, one party was the Vinsmoke family and the other was the Don Quixote family. Unfortunately, their entire warship mistakenly entered the scene of the arms transaction and provoked these two terrible families at the same time. One is the king of North Blue, and the other is the force under the command of 7 warlords of the sea. Either one is extremely difficult to deal with. Provoking these two terrible forces at the same time, even a strong person like Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral would probably feel a headache. What's more, Karen is just a Marine colonel of a Marine branch. This kind of scene is also the first time he has encountered it. Inform all Marines not to act rashly. Let's see what the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family want to do first. Let's wait and see, and don't take the initiative. I'll negotiate with them in person later. I hope there won't be a conflict. Otherwise, it will be really troublesome. Karen said. Yes, Colonel. All the Marines agreed. And then, led by Karen and Bart, nearly 100 Marines were ready to go. They were on the deck, looking at the two pirate ships that were approaching with solemn, vigilant and fearful eyes. Finally, the two sides had a head-on encounter. The two pirate ships each carried nearly 200 or 300 people, a total of 500 or 600 people. The warships led by Karen and Bart only carried more than 100 Marines, and more than half of them were Marine recruits. Whether it was the difference in the number of people or the strength level of both sides, they were not at the same level at all. Karen was under increasing pressure. The Marines behind him also had heavy faces, and each of them tightened their weapons, as if only in this way could they feel a certain sense of security. In addition, Karen also saw, as he wished, the two persons in charge of the arms trade sent by the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family. Isn't this Colonel Karen of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town? What brings you here? A slightly sharp and sarcastic voice sounded. A middle-aged man with a height of nearly 3 meters, who was the leader of the pirate ship, looked at Karen with a playful look. Behind him, there were 200 or 300 extremely vicious pirates, all with hideous smiles on their faces, staring at them fiercely. Colonel Marine? It seems that not long ago, Brother Larmy just killed several colonels Marine. In the end, Marine dared not even fart. Colonel Marine of Mushroom Town, Karen. I have some impression of him. He is quite powerful, however, compared with Brother Larmy, there is no comparison. Besides, we are the Vinsmoke family. How dare Marine make a big move against us? Not to mention Marine, even the world government has to behave itself when it comes to our North Blue. The pirates were arrogant and unscrupulous. The Vinsmoke family members headed by Larmy looked at Karen and other Marines without fear. At the same time, on another pirate ship, the Don Quixote family members headed by Jarek also ridiculed and mocked Karen and other Marines without scruples. Could it be that Colonel Karen is here to stop the transaction between our two families? Jarek asked coldly. After a pause, he sneered, it's just a Marine colonel. It's better to ask you Marine to send out Vice Admiral to stop the transaction between our two families. A colonel is far from enough. Hearing this tone, those who don't know would think that the head of the Vinsmoke family, Judge, and the young master of the Don Quixote family, Doflamingo, were personally dispatched. Seeing the pirates of these two families so rampant, Coron's heart sank and his face became ugly. Taking a deep breath, he suddenly remembered the figure of a monster in his mind, and lowered his voice to Bart, his trusted subordinate beside him, go and invite Mr. Lu N. Chapter 12. What's the point of living with only a few $100s a month? Fourth update, please give me flowers and votes. Surrounded by 500 or 600 vicious pirates, both Colonel Garan and the hundreds of Marine soldiers around him felt a strong sense of oppression. It made them feel extremely stressed and tense. Fortunately, there was another monster hovering in his mind, which slightly suppressed the heaviness in Garen's heart. Perhaps he could not resolve the current crisis, but if it was the monster who mastered Conqueror's Haki, he would definitely be able to solve the pirates in front of him. Colonel Garan, what should we do? A Marine looked at Garen's back. Try to negotiate with them first. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Garan was naturally unwilling to fight with this group of pirates. After all, these two groups of pirates each represent a behemoth. Needless to say, the Vinsmoke family, the King of North Blue, and the Don Quixote family are also not soft persimmons. No matter which one is offended, it will give Marine a headache. With his thoughts flying in his mind, Karen spoke in a low voice. I can pretend that I have never seen what happened today, but please leave this sea area immediately. As a Marine with justice in his heart, he was forced by a group of pirates, which made Karen feel aggrieved. But he was outnumbered, and for the sake of his life, he was still unwilling to easily go to war with these pirates. In particular, he was responsible for the safety of his subordinates. More than half of the Marines he led were recruiters, and he didn't expect these recruiters to be able to exert much combat effectiveness when facing the ferocious pirates. Not causing trouble for him was already a blessing. Colonel Karen, are you bowing to us pirates? Ha ha ha. Larmy laughed loudly. Karen looked ugly and said nothing. I don't want to offend you Marines, but I'm sorry that you guys caught us dealing arms today. In order to avoid a series of subsequent troubles and leaking the secret deal today. So, we can't let you leave here, Lalmy said, don't be too arrogant. Karen looked at Lalmy coldly. Do you still want to keep all of us? With your strength, I'm afraid you are not qualified enough. Moreover, if you really want to go to war, I think you will definitely pay a heavy price. For a moment, the swords were drawn. The atmosphere became depressing. A murderous atmosphere arose spontaneously. The confrontation between Marine and the pirates looked like a fierce battle would break out at any time. Jarek, who was sent by the Don Quixote family and was responsible for the arms trade with the Vinsmoke family, looked at Lalmy. The two looked at each other and understood each other. Noticing the strange expressions of the two, Coron's heart skipped a beat and his mood gradually sank to the bottom. Trouble. It seems that these two damn bastards have made up their minds to keep them in this sea to prevent the news of the arms deal from leaking out. As the supreme commander of the Marine branch of North Blue Mushroom Town, Coron's strength is naturally not to be underestimated. If he were alone, he would have a 50% chance of escaping from this situation. But now he is not alone. There are a group of Marine subordinates around him, and more than half of them are Marine recruits. This forced Karen to give up the idea of escaping alone. Young men, over the years, the Marines have been eyeing our Don Quixote family's many industries and businesses, causing trouble for our family again and again, and affecting our family's industries and businesses. Standing on the deck of the pirate ship, Jarek's voice rang out in an extremely loud voice. If it weren't for these damn Marines, our Don Quixote family's industries would have spread all over the Grand Line, and even to the four seas of the east, west, south and north. It's these damn Marines that make our family lose one or two fixed industries every once in a while. Over the years, the Marines have caused our family to lose industries worth no less than 10 billion berries. And today, it just so happens that these damn Marines broke into our arms trading site. What do you think? Should we retaliate against them? Let them learn a lesson. If you offend our Don Quixote family, you will have to pay a heavy price. The voice fell. The hundreds of pirates behind Jarek cheered loudly. Brother Jarek is right. Last time, Marine destroyed a large casino opened by the Don Quixote family on Long Island. It's haunting us. There were also several slave ships destroyed by Marine. Although the destruction of these industries by Marine has little impact on our Don Quixote family, which is a big family, but since we have the opportunity to take revenge, we will certainly not miss it. As a notorious criminal family, Don Quixote family, headed by the young master Doflamingo, has been operating industries and businesses for so many years, wandering in the dark world. Naturally, it is inevitable that they will be targeted and destroyed by Marine. So, it is normal for the two sides to have such a big grudge. On the other hand, due to the absolute dominance of the Vinsmoke family in North Blue, Marine rarely has disputes with the Vinsmoke family in North Blue. However, this does not prevent Larmy, who is responsible for selling arms to Don Quixote family on behalf of the Vinsmoke family, from being very interested in the upcoming collision and intends to watch from the sidelines. Larmy, if you are willing to join hands with me to kill all these Marines, then, for this transaction, I can represent the family and increase the price by 10% to buy your Vinsmoke family's arms. How? Jarek looked at Larmy. Is there such a good thing? Larmy's eyes lit up, and he smiled and agreed. I have been unhappy with these Marines for a long time. Since you took the initiative to raise the price of arms, I naturally cannot refuse. So far, the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family joined forces to destroy the Marine warship in front of them. Seeing this, the Marines led by Karen looked even uglier. Prepare for battle. Failure to negotiate with the other party made Karen already anticipate what would happen next. The two pirates joined forces and put them in the most difficult situation. At the same time, Lu En yawned, his eyelids half drooped, and was walking out of the room without spirit. Then, under the anxious leadership of Marine Major Bart, they came to the deck of the warship step by step. When he saw Lu En's figure, Caron's tense mood immediately eased, and his originally panicked and nervous mood became particularly stable in an instant. There is no way. It can only be said that Lu En brought Karen a strong sense of security. Mr. Lu En. Karen greeted him with excitement. A Marine beside him also fixed his eyes full of awe on Lu En. After the Sea Kings were killed instantly, almost all Marines had a consensus in their hearts. That is, Lu En's strength is definitely stronger than Colonel Karen. What's wrong? Lu En asked. He glanced at the two pirate ships casually, and he had already guessed it in his heart. Sure enough. Next, Karen told him what happened just now. Mr. Lu En, please help and get rid of these two groups of vicious pirates. Not only did they dare to trade arms blatantly, they even dared to make no secret of their killing intentions for our Marines. This is simply a trampling on justice. Karen said with blood boiling. In his opinion, as the nephew of Kizaru Admiral, Mr. Lu En must hate these vicious pirates under the latter's teachings. But unexpectedly, Lu En looked at Karen with a strange expression. Are you okay? I just joined the Marine, and I am at most a Marine soldier at present. Besides, I only earn a few berries a month. You don't expect me to deal with these pirates? These pirates look quite brutal, and even you, a Marine colonel, are helpless. What's more, it's late at night now, and you should have been off work long ago. Even if you want to enforce justice, you have to distinguish the time periods. I'm sorry that I can't accompany you to deal with these pirates. Karen. Marine. Chapter 13 Promotion and Salary Increase. Starting from Colonel, Update 1. Seeing Lu En so decisively refuse to take action to deal with the pirates, Karen and the Marines around him were petrified on the spot, with a blank, confused and stunned face. This is completely different from what Karen expected. I thought that Lu En would angrily take action against the pirates. Unexpectedly, the other party refused. Such a decisive attitude. No. This. Karen opened his mouth and was a little incoherent. Brother, we are now surrounded by pirates. What are you talking about when to get off work? Only a few berries a month? Don't want to risk your life? You are the nephew of Kizaru Admiral. Shouldn't you uphold the concept of marine justice and severely punish all the pirates in this sea? Colonel, Mr. Lu En seems to have some truth in what he said. A Marine said weakly, after careful consideration. Karen was speechless for a while. Don't say it. What the other party said really makes some sense. Nothing wrong. Wait for me. Karen was hard to persuade. Immediately, he took out the Den Den Mushi and dialed the communication with Naval Headquarters Marineford without hesitation. Soon, the Den Den Mushi was connected. What? Kizaru's lazy voice came from the Den Den Mushi. Admiral Kizaru, on the way back to the Marine branch in Mushroom Town, we encountered two groups of pirates who were doing a large amount of arms trading. They are members of the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family. We didn't want to cause trouble. After all, there are still many Marine recruits on the ship. Even if I want to wipe out these pirates, I can't do anything. Karen looked anxious. Vinsmoke family? Don Quixote family? Kizaru's tone was a bit solemn. Although he didn't take these two families seriously, they were definitely not something a small colonel like Karen could deal with. Especially in North Blue. Being in North Blue, even a Marine Admiral like Kizaru would not easily offend the Vinsmoke family, the undisputed king of North Blue. Are you being targeted by them? Kizaru asked. Yes. Karen smiled bitterly. Two groups of pirates have completely surrounded us. Moreover, the negotiations just now have failed. They seem to be determined to keep our group of Marines in this sea area. I really have no choice. That's why I asked you for help. Hearing this, Kizaru thought for a while and said bluntly, what about Lu En? If he takes action, he should be able to get rid of that group of pirates, right? Although I don't know the strength level of Lu En yet. But since he has mastered Conqueror's Haki, it should be no problem for him to deal with that group of pirates. A monster who has mastered Conqueror's Haki can basically walk sideways in a place like North Blue, except for the main members of the Vinsmoke family, and meet any other pirates without any scruples. Those who can master Conqueror's Haki are definitely not weak. Kizaru can be sure of this, but here comes the problem. Karen looked bitter. He glanced at Lu En, who looked sleepy, calmly, and continued to speak with the Den Den Mushi in his hand. Mr. Lu En, he is not willing to take action against these pirates. His reason is, he doesn't want to work overtime. It's too late now, it's time to get off work. Besides, he is a newly hired Marine recruit, and he only earns a few berries a month. He doesn't want to fight with pirates. At this moment, even Kizaru, who was as lazy as a salted fish, was stunned. 6. Kizaru was speechless. Don't want to work overtime? What a bullshit reason. But don't say it. The reason for my nephew to slack off is quite novel. It's reasonable to slack off openly after get off work, right? Kizaru touched his chin, thinking. Can I use this novel reason of my nephew in the future to refuse to perform some tedious and troublesome tasks openly? I need to think about this carefully, Admiral Kizaru. Seeing Kizaru's lack of response, and feeling the pressure from the pirates, Karen was almost crying. This kid. Kizaru reacted and immediately laughed and scolded. He is really not a loser. However, what he said does make some sense. He is just a newly hired Marine recruit. It is not appropriate for him to deal with a group of vicious pirates. How many berries a month? It is understandable that he does not want to fight with pirates. Hearing Kizaru's voice full of approval, he realized the former's attitude. Karen was anxious. Admiral Kizaru, you must persuade Mr. Lu En. Otherwise, our entire warship will be wiped out. Okay, I know what's going on. Give the Den Den Mushi to Lu En, and let me talk to him. Kizaru said bluntly. Although he is really lazy at ordinary times and does not work seriously when he is at work. But at least, he did a good job on the surface, and no one could find fault with him. I never thought. His own nephew Lu En was even more important. He was not even willing to do the surface work, he just put on a sloppy and lazy attitude. After a while, as Lu En took over the Den Den Mushi, he heard Kizaru's voice coming from the Den Den Mushi. Your reasons for wanting to be lazy and slack off are really eye-opening. It makes me have to consider using these novel reasons you came up with to refuse Marshal Sengoku's dispatch mission next time. But, you are in a serious situation now, and the entire warship's marine is under serious threat from the attacking pirates. I think you should know what to do, right? Don't worry, I won't let you work for nothing. You are my nephew, and I am definitely on your side. Things like white hits, let alone you, even I won't do it. Before Lu En responded. Then, Kizaru's voice sounded again. Let's do this. I'll make the decision. As long as you get rid of the two groups of pirates who attacked and confiscate all the arms they traded. Then, I can use your record this time as a reason to emphasize to Marshal Sengoku that you can be directly granted the rank of Marine Colonel. Let your position and salary far exceed those Marines who joined at the same time. Don't worry, as long as you perfectly get rid of the pirates and confiscate the arms. I am 100% sure that I can convince Marshal Sengoku to grant you the rank of Colonel. This is a great opportunity for promotion and salary increase, don't miss it. With this promise from me, you should be satisfied, right? I have to explain to you. So far, there are still few people who can do it. They have just joined the Marine and have been granted the rank of Colonel. So, don't be ungrateful. Remember to do what I said beautifully. Don't make any mistakes, otherwise, I can't guarantee that I can successfully convince you, Marshal Sengoku. It shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with these little shrimps, right? You know, you have mastered Conqueror's Haki, although until now, I still don't know how you practiced, and you secretly mastered Conqueror's Haki without telling me. But I can be sure of one thing, your strength must be extraordinary. Perhaps your strength is far beyond my expectations. Chapter 14. The Resentment of the Overtime Workers, Beat Up Party A, Second Update. Promotion and salary increase? Special award of the rank of Marine Colonel? Uncle, if you really say so, then the situation will be different. Lu En listened to Kizaru's words, his eyes lit up, and the previous sleepiness was swept away. The whole person became particularly energetic, and full of fighting spirit. Mainly, I'm not doing this for the so-called colonel rank, nor for a pay raise. Lu En said, seeing these vicious pirates on the sea, burning, killing and looting wantonly. I feel deeply sad and angry, and I wish I could bring them to justice and restore peace to this sea. As a Marine, I should naturally have justice in my heart. Even if you don't talk about a promotion and a pay raise, I will definitely take action without hesitation to get rid of these pirates who sell arms privately. They are full of evil and should be detained and impelled down to reflect on themselves. The reason why I said I didn't want to take action just now was purely to test Colonel Karen, how much courage he could show when facing pirates, and whether he would be scared by pirates. The result is obvious. Colonel Karen is courageous, which makes me admire him very much. Lu En said righteously. On the side, listening to Lu En's noble remarks, Karen was silent in his heart. Mr. Lu En, you really don't want to see the rabbit but you don't want to show your eagle. If it weren't for Admiral Kizaru's promise, you would have watched us all die in the sea without doing anything, right? Although he was complaining in his heart, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he got Lu En's response and the other party was willing to help. His tense mood was relieved a little. Okay, I don't know what you think, uncle. Kizaru was a little speechless about Lu En's change of attitude. If you are really so noble, then, I will take back what I said just now. Ah, uncle, you are a Marine Admiral, you can't go back on your words. Lu En said. Kizaru. Okay, wait until you solve this group of pirates, then tell me. I will ask for your credit and propose to Marshal Sengoku to let you be promoted to Marine Colonel directly. Then, the Den Den Mushi hung up. Lu En returned the Den Den Mushi to Karen with satisfaction. At the same time he patted the latter's shoulder earnestly. Colonel Karen, my tone may not be very good just now, but now you can rest assured, leave these pirates to me. As a Marine, I am incompatible with pirates. What's more, these pirates have already run over our heads and acted arrogantly. As a member of the Marine, I certainly don't allow pirates to be so rampant. Under the complicated gazes of a group of Marines, Lu En walked to the front of the warship deck alone. Looking at Lu En's back, Bart stood beside Karen and said weakly, Colonel Karen, if it weren't for Admiral Kizaru's promise, Mr. Lu En would definitely watch us die tragically at the hands of pirates, right? What nonsense are you talking about? Karen rolled his eyes. At this moment, he had a deeper understanding of Lu En's character. This is not a qualified Marine, instead, it's a bit like a bounty hunter. Get paid to do things. No money? Get out of the way. Justice? What the hell is this? I guess in Mr. Lu En's mind, there is no such thing as justice. To catch pirates or not, it's just based on preference. It's just based on profit. So, is it a blessing or a curse for a monster like Mr. Lu En to join Marine? Karen thought about it. This kind of monster can join Marine, at least it can eliminate the possibility of the other party becoming a pirate. In this way, even if the other party joins Marine just to fish and become a wage thief, it is also a great thing for Marine. Just make sure that this monster does not oppose Marine. If Mr. Lu En takes action, it should not be a problem to deal with these pirates, even if they come from the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family respectively. Bart's tone is a little unconfident, this is easy to understand. After all, the Vinsmoke family has ruled North Blue for too long, so much so that Marine will be very unconfident when facing the Vinsmoke family. Don't worry, as long as Lu En is willing to take action, then Karen can put his heart in his stomach, and he will not worry at all that Lu En can't solve this group of pirates. As for the reason, is there any need to say more? Karen looked at Lu En's back and said with trust in his eyes. A monster that can master Conqueror's Haki, its power is beyond your imagination. Looking at the entire North Blue, perhaps we have to send out the main members of the Vinsmoke family to shake Mr. Lu En's power. Otherwise, no matter how many people come, they're just sending food and heads. Mr. Lu En, he is the real monster of the sea. Seeing Karen's trusting expression, Bart was also infected by the other party's self-confidence, and his expression gradually became much more relaxed. At the same time, as Lu En stepped forward and wanted to face the two groups of pirates alone, hundreds of pirates led by Larmy and Jarek burst into laughter. Is Marine alone? Colonel Marine hid in the back, but sent a young boy out to die? Larmy laughed wildly. Larmy, don't waste your time talking to them. Just go for it. It will be troublesome if there are patrolling Marine warships in the nearby waters. Although we are not afraid, we don't want to cause trouble. Jarek said bluntly. That's right. Larmy nodded in agreement. Led by the two of them, hundreds of pirates stared at Lu En coldly without hiding their strong malice and murderous intent. If it were an ordinary Marine, being stared at by so many ferocious pirates at the same time, they would probably be scared to the point of their legs going weak and unable to keep a calm mind. But Lu En was naturally different. He never took these pirates too seriously. You're the Party A who caused me to work overtime, right? Thinking back to the Party A's father, in the previous life, Lu En couldn't help but feel a sense of resentment in his heart, and this resentment was almost about to turn into substance. Party A's father. This won't work, change it. Lu En, no problem. Party A's father. This one doesn't work either, change it. Lu En. Okay. Party A's father. After looking at it, the one at the beginning is actually the best, so let's just use it, no need to change it. Lu En. WDNMD. The tragic experiences of working overtime in the last life emerged in his mind, making Lu En's eyes gradually red, bloodshot, and the aura exuded by the whole person was like a demon, cold, eerie, and terrifying. The terrifying and cold aura swept in all directions. The Marines led by Karen behind him couldn't help but tremble all over, staring at Lu En's back with a look of fear. What the hell? How much resentment is this? This resentment is about to turn into substance. Party A, right? I'm going to beat Party A. Lu En had no expression on his face. The pirates on these two pirate ships are dead. Even Jesus can't stop them. I said it. Chapter 15, Sinking two pirate ships with one strike, Update 3. Glancing at the Marines on the deck of the warship, Lu En casually pointed at one of the Marines, under the latter's nervous and uneasy eyes. Lu En said. Lend me the sword in your hand, Marine. Yes. He quickly handed the samurai sword in his hand to Lu En. He weighed the light samurai sword in his hand. Although the workmanship was fine, for someone like Lu En who had the strongest physique in the world, such a weapon was still too light. But it didn't matter, it was just to deal with the pirates in front of him. Why use a butcher knife to kill a chicken? So, next, under the ridicule and sarcasm of the pirates. I saw. Lu En slowly raised the samurai sword in his hand, as if he was throwing the samurai sword as a javelin, and pointed it in the direction of the two pirate ships in front. He raised his right arm, and closed his 5 fingers to hold the samurai sword tightly. The incomparable terrifying power emerged from his body, gathering the physical fitness of the 3-4 emperors at their peak. The power contained in Lu En's body was so terrifying that it was unimaginable. A powerful aura of pressure emanated from Lu En's body, sweeping the entire venue. Like a flood and a beast, it brought a full sense of oppression. Grabbing the samurai sword with one hand, holding it tightly, Lu En then gathered the strength of his body and threw the samurai sword towards the two pirate ships without hesitation. Instantaneously. Boom. The moment the samurai sword left Lu En's palm, a thunderous sonic boom erupted instantly, as if even the space was torn apart and collapsed by this samurai sword. A sharp and piercing sound of breaking through the air sounded, resounding in all directions. The samurai sword soared into the air and attacked the two pirate ships at an extremely fast speed, which was almost impossible to catch with the naked eye, and had completely surpassed the speed of sound. Cutting through the space at supersonic speed, it caused the space to buzz, twist, and wriggle. Buzz. Buzz. Wherever the samurai sword passed, the high-pressure airflow generated forcibly distorted the space. At the same time, the burst of air rushed towards the calm sea surface, and even caused the sea surface to raise a series of shocking waves, rolling and dancing in the air. Wallala! The shocking waves poured back hundreds of meters above the sky. The entire sea surface was divided by the high-pressure airflow generated by the samurai sword, and it seemed as if the entire sea was directly split apart. The scene was extremely shocking and breathtaking. On both sides of the divided sea surface, waves of surging waves surged. The calm sea surface was shaken, the seawater rolled. And the pirate ships and warships kept shaking with the surge of the sea current. Whether it was the pirates headed by the two major families of Larmy and Jarek, or the Marines headed by Karen and Bart, their eyes were all fixed on the shocking scene caused by the samurai sword rising from the sky. It happened in a flash. The two pirate ships, which were less than 10 meters away from the warship, had already arrived in front of the pirate ship in an instant when the samurai sword was thrown out by Lu En at supersonic speed. The raging waves were still rolling in the air, and they had not fallen for a long time. Time seemed to be frozen at this moment. Standing on the deck of the pirate ship, as a cadre of the Vinsmoke family, Larmy's smile on his face suddenly stopped, his expression became stiff, and his eyes were filled with shock, fear, and disbelief. This is... Larmy could feel a sense of oppression coming at him, and the horror of this momentum even surpassed the judge, the head of the Vinsmoke family, when he faced him. This made him feel unacceptable. How could it be possible? The head of the family, Judge, was the king of North Blue, who was feared by Marine and the world government. How could this young boy in front of him have a terrifying momentum that was far inferior to the head of the family? This is unreasonable. On the other side, Don Quixote family cadre Jarek also felt the same emotion as Larmy. He was staring at the approaching samurai sword with wide eyes, full of panic and horror. From that young man, I seem to feel a more powerful momentum than the young master. Jarek's mind was shocked. The young master he mentioned can only be Doflamingo, one of the 7 warlords of the sea known as Heavenly Yaksha. From a boy who was only 15 or 16 years old, he actually felt the terrifying momentum that surpassed his own young master Doflamingo. What kind of concept is this? Can't hide. The samurai sword that attacked at supersonic speed brought Jarek an unprecedented strong sense of crisis, making him feel terrified, shocked, and desperate in his heart, and his body was unable to move and unable to react. Finally, the samurai sword that broke the speed of sound and set off a huge wave hit the first pirate ship from the front. Boom, accompanied by a loud bang. It was as if the sky was split open. Thunder roared through the sky. The roar spread quickly over a radius of 10 miles, scaring away many sea kings hiding under the sea, who were fleeing in panic, not daring to approach the nearby sea area. The samurai sword hit the pirate ship where Larmy was head-on, and the violent force that erupted in an instant tore the entire pirate ship apart in less than a second. The terrifying force crushed the pirate ship, turning it into flying fragments. Crack. Crack. The entire pirate ship, from inside to outside, was destroyed beyond recognition by the impact of the samurai sword at supersonic speed, constantly cracking, exploding, and breaking, and finally being crushed into wood chips that fell in all directions. Just one encounter. The pirate ship was forcibly destroyed. Not even a slag was left. As for the pirates who were previously on the pirate ship, the hundreds of pirates led by Larmy exploded in an instant, turning into blood mist and scattering in the sea, leaving no bones. Only a few pirates who survived by chance were affected by the shockwave, and their bodies flew up and flew backwards dozens of meters away, falling into the sea and unconscious. In short, All the members who came to trade arms with Don Quixote family on behalf of the Vinsmoke family were basically gone, leaving only a few survivors. Larmy, a cadre, died on the spot, and even screamed could not be heard. His body was crushed by the shockwave and exploded, turning into countless blood mist and flesh flying everywhere. It can be said that his death was extremely miserable. It's not over yet. The first pirate ship was destroyed head-on, and the people in the ship were destroyed together. Then, it was the turn of the pirate ship of Don Quixote family, which was also hit by the samurai sword with shocking power. Boom! The second loud noise was like thunder, it resounded through the sky. Just like the first pirate ship, the second pirate ship hit by the samurai sword could not stop the samurai sword that attacked at a speed faster than the speed of sound. The pirate ship collapsed and cracked on the spot. Along with the shattering of the pirate ship, most of the vicious pirates on the ship died miserably, their bodies exploded, and their limbs scattered in the sea. Only 3 or 4 insignificant survivors survived, but they also fell into the sea with serious injuries, unconscious, and their lives were uncertain. Jarek, a cadre of the Don Quixote family, met a miserable end like Larmy. His body was instantly torn apart by the samurai sword from the front, and he died without any pain. So far, the war ended. A battle between 600 or 700 ferocious pirates and hundreds of marines had not officially begun, but it ended in an instant. As a result, the 2 pirate ships were destroyed in an instant. The pirates under the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family were completely wiped out, and only a few survivors were blown away by the shockwave and fell into the sea, their lives unknown. And the whole battle process was just. Lu En only used 1 attack throughout the whole process, and sank the 2 pirate ships on the spot. Let Marine usher in a great victory without any damage. Chapter 16. The whole audience was shocked. 2 admirals in 1 door? 4th update. 3K big chapter, please give me flowers. Hualala. The surging waves vented down like a heavy rain, and the seawater hit the sea surface, causing ripples and waves, making the warships on the sea surface shake constantly. Some seawater fell on the deck of the warship, infecting many marines' marine uniforms, and the cold touch woke them up from their astonishment. It was only a few seconds before and after, however. The 2 pirate ships carrying hundreds of vicious pirates were annihilated along with the pirate ships in just a few seconds, turning into nothing and disappearing. If it weren't for the countless ship wreckages, wood chips, and the remains of many pirates floating on the sea surface, I'm afraid no one would believe that there were 2 pirate ships carrying hundreds of pirates in this sea area just now. All this gave Karen, Bart and other marines a feeling as if they were dreaming. The nearby sea area was temporarily dyed red as the bodies of the pirates fell into the sea, but soon, with the flow and washing of the sea currents, the brief light red was washed away. Only pieces of debris floating on the sea surface were left, showing the tragedy that had just happened here. The rippling sea currents drove countless ship wreckage and the bodies of pirates, colliding around the warships, and faint sounds were heard, allowing all the marines present to see clearly. The atmosphere at the scene was dead silent. No one could recover from the shock. I can only say, the way Lu En destroyed the 2 pirate ships was too simple and too rough. In just a few seconds, he destroyed the pirate ships carrying hundreds of pirates with just 1 blow. These scenes, until now, still make it difficult for Karen and other marines to wake up from their dreams. The rest is up to you. I'm sleepy, I'm going to take a nap first. I hope no one will interrupt my sleep time. Lu En yawned, changing his previous devil-like appearance, and returned to a lazy salted fish again. Without waiting for any response from Karen and other marines, he left the front of the deck on his own. Step by step, he returned to his room and continued to take a nap. It was not until Lu En's figure completely disappeared that Karen and other marines woke up one after another, with a strong sense of shock between their brows. They looked at each other, and each could see the horror in the other's eyes. My goodness. Just now, what happened? In the blink of an eye, the 2 pirate ships disappeared from this sea area. The hundreds of pirates on the pirate ships disappeared without a trace. A marine had a dry throat and broke the dead silence on the deck with a terrifying tone. Gradually, all marines came back to their senses and expressed their inner shock. As this Admiral Kizaru's nephew? Isn't he too strong? With just 1 strike, he sank 2 pirate ships on the spot, destroying both the ships and the people, and instantly wiped out 600 or 700 pirates. Monster. Admiral Kizaru's nephew is a complete monster. Even Admiral Kizaru back then, at this age, I'm afraid he is far from being as amazingly powerful as Mr. Lu En, right? The pirates from the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family have no power to fight back in front of Mr. Lu En. There were 600 or 700 people, and they had brought us a sense of helplessness and despair before. But in a blink of an eye, they all died tragically at the hands of Mr. Lu En, and were completely killed by a single blow. Too strong. He is worthy of being a man who can kill a sea kings in a single strike. I'm sure that even those high-ranking vice admirals in the headquarters, in terms of strength, they are far inferior to Mr. Lu En, who is only 16 years old. Mr. Lu En is undoubtedly a monster whose strength far exceeds that of the vice admiral of the headquarters. The whole audience was shocked. One after another, marines expressed their admiration, awe and worship for the powerful strength displayed by Lu En. Although all the marines present had expected the annihilation of the 2 pirate ships, but they could not imagine that the two pirate ships would be destroyed in such a devastating way. The battle was declared over with just one encounter. Devastating, invincible. 600 or 700 pirates had no power to fight back, and they could not even resist, and they were all killed instantly. They were wiped out in an absolutely crushing manner. At this moment, Marine, who witnessed the two pirate ships being sunk by one blow, had a more intuitive understanding of the strength of Lu En. Strong. Very strong. Even better than the Vice Admiral of the Headquarters. The amazing fighting power just displayed was countless times more powerful than that of the Vice Admiral. It was for this reason that the Marines had a firm opinion from the bottom of their hearts. Lu En, who was only 16 years old, was definitely not inferior to the Vice Admiral. This was a real monster. Colonel Karen, could you have imagined this result? Marine Major Bart stood beside Karen, opened his mouth, and asked with a weak tone of shock. Then you really overestimated me. I didn't expect that Mr. Lu En would be so strong. I thought that Mr. Lu En could defeat the pirates, but I never expected that Mr. Lu En only used one strike. 600 or 700 pirates were wiped out with one strike. Such amazing combat power is definitely not inferior to the Vice Admiral of the Headquarters. Karen gradually woke up from the shock and couldn't help but exclaimed, the most important thing is that Mr. Lu En is only 16 years old. He has just joined Marine and has such amazing combat power. Even the monsters like Kizaru Admiral, Sakazuki Admiral, and Aokiji Admiral joined Marine and went through the training of the Marine training camp. They slowly became so powerful in their 20s. On the other hand, Mr. Lu En was so powerful just after joining Marine. After a moment, with a strong sense of shock that had not yet dissipated in his heart, Karen regained some of his rationality and thinking, and immediately ordered the Marines who were talking around him, confiscate the wooden boxes containing munitions scattered on the sea. Although the destructive power caused by Mr. Lu En's shocking blow was too terrible, as a result, many munitions were damaged and fell into the sea, but there should be a lot of munitions that were well preserved as our spoils of war this time. Under Caron's order, a group of Marines took action in shock. Confiscate the huge wooden boxes floating on the sea. The wooden boxes contained munitions produced by the Vinsmoke family and used to trade with the Don Quixote family. There were quite a lot of them. After Karen made a preliminary estimate. Even if the damaged munitions were not included, the well-preserved munitions alone could probably arm an elite army of about 1,000 people. And they were armed to the teeth. There were all kinds of munitions and weapons in full view. If this batch of arms were to end up on a small island, it would immediately become the source of evil for some people to rule an island. Colonel Karen, all arms have been confiscated and the number is being counted. A Marine came to Karen and told him the truth. The rest of the matter is up to you. I'll go and inform Admiral Kizaru of what just happened. Karen told Bart beside him. Understood. Bart nodded. Then, Karen came to the edge of the fence at the corner of the warship deck, took out the Denden Mushi, and dialed it. Pop, pop, the unique sound of the Denden Mushi sounded. Soon, the communication was dialed. As the matter resolved, so quickly, it seems that Lu En's strength is really beyond my expectations. Kizaru's voice came from the Denden Mushi with some surprise and admiration. Hearing this, Karen quickly told Kizaru the truth about what had just happened. This kid, with just one strike, he destroyed 2 pirate ships. He wiped out 600 or 700 pirates. Tisk tisk, the young people nowadays are really monsters. Even when I was at this age, my strength was far inferior to that of my nephew. After listening to Caron's detailed report, Kizaru couldn't help but sigh. It seems, the Borsellino family is really going to have another Marine Admiral. 2 admirals in one family? Thinking of this, Kizaru's heart was immediately filled with expectations. Now, it shouldn't be a problem for me to persuade Marshal Sengoku to grant Lu En the rank of colonel and directly promote him to Marine Colonel. Just after joining the Marine, he was granted the position of Marine Colonel? Similar examples are few and far between. Even if we look at the Marines over the past few decades, they can be counted on one hand. Before hanging up the Denden Mushi, Kizaru seemed to have thought of something. So his tone became serious, and he reminded Karen, who was on the other side of Denden Mushi. This time, you destroyed the arms deal between Vinsmoke family and Don Quixote family. Given the behavior of these 2 families, they are unlikely to suffer losses. Therefore, in the next period of time, you must focus on guarding against the retaliation of these 2 families. Remember to remind Lu En, let him be more careful, so that he will not be retaliated by others without any preparation. Chapter 17, A Marine with a Special Identity, updated, 3K long chapter. After hanging up the Denden Mushi communication, Caron's face became very solemn. We must be on guard against what Admiral Kizaru said. This time, the arms deal between the Don Quixote family and the Vinsmoke family was destroyed. Given the style of these 2 families, they are likely to take a series of retaliatory actions. The Don Quixote family is notorious, and even more notorious in the dark world. Any force that offends the Don Quixote family will encounter their cruel revenge. Even if the target of revenge is Marine, the Don Quixote family may not back down. As for the Vinsmoke family, if it were placed in the Grand Line, the Vinsmoke family might not dare to challenge Marine. But this is North Blue, the situation is different. As the well-deserved ruler of North Blue, Marine provoked the Vinsmoke family in North Blue, and it is hard to guarantee that the other party will take extreme revenge. In short, whether it is the Don Quixote family or the Vinsmoke family, they are definitely extremists who will take revenge. In the next period of time, let the Marines of North Blue take corresponding precautions to avoid retaliation from these two families and suffer heavy losses. Although the two pirate ships that just traded arms were successfully resolved, the series of troubles caused by the follow-up made Karen feel even more stressed. Originally, Karen was complacent with the sinking of the two pirate ships. But now, thinking that the two families are very likely to take a series of revenge actions against Marine in the future, he became particularly depressed. North Blue is different from Grand Line. If it were Grand Line, with the absolute authority of Marine, the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family would naturally not dare to act rashly against Marine. But North Blue is different. Marine's control over North Blue is still too weak after all. In North Blue, the Vinsmoke family is the supreme ruler. Time flies. The next day, the scorching sun rises slowly. The golden sunlight falls from the edge of the sky, reflecting the dazzling light on the sea. The waves are sparkling, and the breeze stirs up a wave of ripples. The time came to the next day. At this time, a certain sea area not far from North Blue. Germa 66. This is the base camp of the Vinsmoke family. It is also the location of the Germa Kingdom, the only movable kingdom in the world. The only kingdom without a fixed area that has been recognized by the world government as one of the world's member states. This is the kingdom ruled by the supreme ruler of North Blue. The Vinsmoke family head judge, the eldest daughter Reiju, the eldest son Ig, the second son Niji, and the fourth son Yongzi rule the entire Germa kingdom. There are various modern armies under his command, and even clone soldiers have been created. This day, as the news of the failure of the arms trade with the Don Quixote family spread, Judge, the head of the Vinsmoke family, was very angry. He immediately summoned his 3 sons and a daughter. After a while, the entire Vinsmoke family gathered together. Yesterday, the people I sent out to trade arms with the Don Quixote family were wiped out because of Marine's intervention. The arms were also lost. I didn't get the berry paid by the Don Quixote family, and the arms were gone. Although the number of arms in this batch is less than 1/10 of the arms we manufacture throughout the year, this loss will not affect our family's business and arms industry, but in North Blue, in this sea area ruled by our Vinsmoke family, Marine dared to openly attack our Vinsmoke family. The dignity of our family has been seriously challenged. Judge's tone was cold. He was nearly 3 meters tall, with long golden curly hair falling on his back, wearing black clothes, an orange cloak, and a golden mask on his face, full of oppression. It was just a loss of a batch of arms. For the wealthy Vinsmoke family, this can only be regarded as a drop in the bucket, not a big loss. But what made Judge feel full and angry was that in the North Blue, a sea area ruled by their Vinsmoke family, Marine dared to attack their family members openly. This was simply a slap in his face and the face of the Vinsmoke family. This was what Judge could not tolerate. The dignity of the family cannot be challenged. The youngest son of the Vinsmoke family, Yongzi, said angrily. He had a rather irritable personality and always spoke directly, never hiding his true thoughts. He was dressed in green clothes with a black cape and had short green curly hair. Reiju, what do you think? Judge looked at Reiju, the eldest daughter of the Vinsmoke family. Reiju, the eldest daughter of the Vinsmoke family and the princess of the Germa kingdom, was injected with Judge's bloodline factor when she was a child, which gave her a physical fitness comparable to that of a Superman and retained her own emotions, but she could not disobey the orders from Judge. She wore a pink coat and a slightly curled pink hair, exuding the charm of a mature woman. We must take the initiative to fight back and retaliate against Marine, and at the same time show the strength and confidence of our Vinsmoke family to the royal family and forces outside North Blue. Reiju expressed his inner thoughts. Even if it's Marine? Judge asked meaningfully. Even if it's Marine, we can't let the Vinsmoke family retreat. This revenge action is just right to show the royal families outside North Blue the muscles of our Vinsmoke family, so that they will be more obedient in the future, otherwise they will disobey our orders. In recent years, these royal families seem to be unwilling to let the entire North Blue be ruled by our Vinsmoke family. Many royal families are secretly planning and ready to move. Reiju analyzed. You are right. Judge nodded in approval. Then, he looked at his other sons and said bluntly, according to the information I have obtained, the group of Marines who broke into the arms trade between us and the Don Quixote family last night were Marines from the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. Since we want revenge, let's retaliate directly against the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. They destroyed our Vinsmoke family's arms trade and caused us to lose a lot of berries. Then we will attack the Marine branch of Mushroom Town and let these Marines suffer heavy losses. That's fair. If I remember correctly, the highest commander of the Marine branch of Mushroom Town is a Marine colonel named Karen. He is quite powerful, but not that strong. He dares to openly attack people from our Vinsmoke family, so we don't have to worry about the identity of the Marine. Hearing this, several male members of the Vinsmoke family took the initiative to lead the clone soldiers to attack the Marine branch of Mushroom Town and take revenge. It's just an attack on a small Marine branch. There's no need to mobilize too many troops. How about this, Yongzi? This time you will personally lead 800 clone soldiers, prepare sufficient weapons and ammunition, and attack the Marine branch in Mushroom Town. Judge made a decision. To deal with a small Marine branch, the Vinsmoke family certainly doesn't need to make a big fuss. Why don't we wait a while and see the reaction of the Don Quixote family? Reiju suggested. That's right. This time, Marine not only offended our Vinsmoke family, but also offended the Don Quixote family. With Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo's arrogant personality, he will definitely not let it go. Not only do we have to take retaliatory actions against Marine, presumably, the Don Quixote family will also send people to North Blue to participate. Judge thought for a while. At this moment, the Den Den Mushi in his hand was dialed. Judge picked up the Den Den Mushi and answered it. Soon. A very low and suppressed angry voice came from the Den Den Mushi. It's me, Doflamingo. Judge's eyes flashed. Sure enough, the Heavenly Yaksha couldn't sit still. This time, not only the Vinsmoke family was slapped by Marine, but also the Don Quixote family. As one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Doflamingo is naturally not a person who will swallow his anger. It is not difficult to understand why the other party would take the initiative to come to him. This arms deal failed. Marine intervened and destroyed the deal between us. But don't worry, I believe that this is not a problem with your Vinsmoke family, and we can continue to cooperate in the future. As for the failure of this deal, first we'll ask Marine for an explanation. Doflamingo said. What are you going to do? Judge asked. You may not know yet. Doflamingo said with some fear. Among the Marines who participated in sabotaging our transaction this time, there is a person with a very special identity. It was this special Marine who single-handedly led the sabotage of this transaction. Moreover, it also caused hundreds of troops to be annihilated and buried in that sea area. Hearing this, Judge raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't even know this news. He didn't expect that Doflamingo, who was far away in New World Dressrosa, could have so many eyes and ears in North Blue and could find out news that he didn't know. Who is it? Judge didn't dwell on other questions too much and asked directly. The nephew of Kizaru Borsalino, one of the 3 Marine Admirals. A young man named Lu En. Doflamingo responded with a bad tone. Chapter 18 Declaration from the Dark World, Update 2. Kizaru. Judge's pupils shrank slightly, changing his previous careless attitude. If the matter involves a Marine Admiral, the situation will be different immediately. Although the Vinsmoke family is the undisputed ruler of North Blue, even the Marines have to give in. But if a Marine Admiral is really provoked, the Vinsmoke family, as strong as the King of North Blue, will have to be on edge every day. Unless it is absolutely necessary, Judge really doesn't want to take the initiative to provoke a Marine Admiral. He knows very well. What kind of powerful monsters are Marine Admirals? What? Are you afraid? Doflamingo's playful voice came from the Den Den Mushi. Don't tell me you are not afraid of Marine Admirals. Judge did not deny this and snorted immediately. In fact, every wrong has its perpetrator. Since it was this nephew of Admiral Kizaru who provoked us, it is reasonable for us to retaliate. Even if we kill him, Admiral Kizaru will have nothing to say. If you are afraid, you can choose to retreat. Doflamingo said. You don't have to deliberately provoke me. Tell me first, what is your plan? In North Blue, I am not afraid of even Marine Admiral. What's more, he is just a nephew of Marine Admiral, he is not the biological son of Admiral. Judge had no expression on his face. After thinking for a while, he continued, if we have a pleasant cooperation with your Don Quixote family this time, next time our family develops new technological weapons, we can trade with your Don Quixote family first. Doflamingo smiled. It's a deal. If Marine destroys the deal between us this time, and we finally choose to swallow our anger, we won't have to do business in the Dark World in the future. No one will do business with us anymore. So, whether it is you or me, we are destined to take revenge on Marine. This revenge action will try to avoid excessive angering of Marine and show our majesty to the Dark World. I will send Diamante to North Blue to negotiate with your Vinsmoke family. At that time, Diamante can fully represent our Don Quixote family. I hope that your Vinsmoke family can also send a member with the right to speak to participate. Diamante, one of the highest cadres of the Don Quixote family, is a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million. Even in the New World, he is considered to be a little famous. Set a time. Judge said. In 2 days, Diamante will most likely arrive at North Blue. I hope your Vinsmoke family can send someone to take charge of the reception. At that time, I plan to cooperate with your Vinsmoke family. Go to attack the Marine branch in Mushroom Town. Doflamingo said his inner thoughts truthfully. Your idea coincides with my previous plan. Judge laughed. It seems that you and I are both unwilling to suffer losses. This is good. We cooperate with each other. Even if Marine knows the truth later, it is impossible to choose to provoke our 2 families at once. Especially, Marine will not offend us, the 7 warlords of the sea, the King of North Blue, for a small Marine branch. What do you think? Doflamingo was full of confidence. Then I will wait for good news. I hope the people you send can arrive in North Blue as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will have to do it myself and send people to attack the Marine branch in Mushroom Town alone. Don't blame me for eating alone then. Judge responded. The reason for cooperating with Don Quixote family is purely because of their reputation. In this way, even if Marine learns the truth, it is impossible to attack both of them at the same time. Finally, Marine must be dissatisfied at best, but he dare not mobilize the army. It can only be left unresolved. After hanging up the Den Den Mushi call, Judge smiled with satisfaction. Beside him, Reiju asked, "Will Doflamingo go back on his word? This person is a man of deep thoughts. If we are not careful, he might sell us out to Marine. In short, this person has no principles and should not be trusted too much." Judge, "Don't worry, our goals are the same at present. He is unlikely to choose to sell me out in exchange for Marine's trust. If so, the reputation of Don Quixote family in the dark world will be really infamous. The impact and loss caused are too great. Doflamingo is not a fool, he would not choose to do such a stupid thing." At this point, Judge looked at his youngest son, Yangzi. "Yangzi, you prepare first. 2 days later, go to pick up the person in charge sent by Don Quixote family this time. After meeting him, you will lead 800 clone soldiers and go to Mushroom Town with full armor. The goal remains unchanged: attack the Marine branch in Mushroom Town." This day, after the arms deal between the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family was disrupted by the accidental intervention of Marine, many forces in the dark world began to wait for the response of the two families. Vinsmoke family, as the king of North Blue, is naturally not a soft persimmon. Don Quixote family, founded by Doflamingo, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, is also not a person who will suffer losses. So, the whole dark world is looking forward to it. Facing Marine's ruthless sabotage this time, how will Vinsmoke family and Don Quixote family retaliate against Marine to show the majesty of the two families? Not long after, a declaration circulated in the dark world. This declaration came from Vinsmoke family and Don Quixote family. The two families joined forces and issued a grand declaration to the dark world. 2 days later, Marine will pay a painful price for everything he has done. This declaration from the two families at the same time made the whole dark world boil instantly. Countless people began to look forward to. What kind of revenge will the cooperation between Vinsmoke family and Don Quixote family bring to Marine? One is the undisputed king of North Blue, and the other is one of the current 7 warlords of the sea. The revenge action launched by these two against Marine together is definitely not a small fight. It's going to be interesting. Marine will face off against the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family. Although Marine's dominance in the Grand Line cannot be shaken by anyone, but in North Blue, the Vinsmoke family is recognized as the absolute ruler. Add the Don Quixote family. The combination of these two forces will definitely be a super behemoth. It seems that once the two forces join forces, they will definitely be strong enough to shake Marine. In the midst of a heated discussion in the dark world, time flies. In the blink of an eye, it is already 2 days later. This day, Diamante, one of the highest officials of the Don Quixote family, a new world pirate with a bounty of hundreds of millions of berry, has come all the way and successfully arrived in North Blue. Due to the tight schedule, Diamante arrived at North Blue alone, lightly equipped, without any Don Quixote family members. Soon, as the person in charge of the Vinsmoke family's revenge operation, the youngest son of the family head judge, Yangzi, led 800 fully modernized clone soldiers alone, came to solemnly welcome Diamante, one of the highest officials of the Don Quixote family. As soon as they met, Yangzi and Diamante shook hands in a friendly manner. The two sides met. At this point, the two families also officially reached a cooperative relationship. Chapter 19: Arriving at Mushroom Town, the world's strongest swordsmanship, Update 3. Meanwhile, North Blue, Mushroom Town. This is the most prosperous town within the 300-mile sea area nearby. The streets of the town are spacious, bustling with people. Pedestrians dressed in distinctive clothes, some of whom come from farther seas, with their own different customs. Houses of relatively uniform height are neatly arranged along both sides of the spacious streets. The overall structure, color and appearance of each house are not much different, all of which are lavender. The whole town seems to be shrouded in blooming violets. Mushroom Town is huge, and the diameter of the entire island is about 40 kilometers. The permanent population is close to 200,000, and the floating population is even greater. It is considered a medium to large town. A wide variety of goods are arranged on both sides of the spacious streets, and pedestrians who come and go are all smiling, enjoying the prosperous scene of Mushroom Town. Located on the coast of the Mushroom Town port, fishing boats are docked at the edge of the port. There are also large merchant ships that specialize in transporting goods, and passenger ships that are responsible for transporting visitors to other islands. Port. In the early morning, fishermen each held fishing gear and fishing nets, and drove their own fishing boats out to sea to fish. There were also many strong men with strong backs and strong waists, working hard to carry the goods from the port to the merchant ships. Vigorous and energetic. At this time, a warship sailed in the endless blue sea. As the warship sailed, the calm sea surface gradually raised ripples, and the waves spread in all directions. The warship with the Marine Justice flag flying high sailed in, and the people at the port cast awe-inspiring eyes, and then they made way. The Marine of Mushroom Town has won the trust and admiration of the residents, and has never bullied men and women. At the same time, facing the pirates who attacked, they were brave enough to attack and protect the residents of Mushroom Town to live and work in peace. Such a marine is naturally popular with the people. Finally, the warship arrived at the port of Mushroom Town smoothly. Anchored, docked. The warship was fixed on the coast of the port. Then, the flag of the warship slowly began to gather. On the deck of the warship, led by Marine Colonel Karen, Major Bart and more than 100 Marines stood beside him. More than half of them were recruiters who had just joined the Marine because of the Marine conscription. Coming to Mushroom Town for the first time, these Marine recruiters were excited, expectant and excited. The atmosphere seemed lively and noisy. Infected by this atmosphere, even Karen, who had not returned to Mushroom Town for half a month, could not help but feel a sense of returning home. There was only one figure that seemed out of place with the crowd. It was completely different from all the excited Marines on the warship. He exuded a salty and lazy atmosphere all over his body, lying straight on the sun lounger, wearing sunglasses, enjoying the warm sun bath, motionless. He crossed his legs and rested on the fence of the warship deck. Next to the sun lounger was a small wooden table with a variety of desserts and drinks on it. Picking up the drink casually and taking a deep sip from the straw, Lu En felt the sweetness lingering in his mouth, and a comfortable expression appeared on his face. On the entire warship, the only one who could be lazy and slack off openly without being scolded by anyone was naturally the only exception, Lu En. Not to mention the recruiters of the warship, even Karen, a colonel in the Marine, did not dare to express any dissatisfaction with Lu En. Comfortable, in the past 2 days, Lu En had basically no external affairs to deal with except eating, drinking, defecating and urinating every day, which made his whole body and mind become particularly comfortable, happy and relaxed. No need to train, nor participate in any affairs of the Marine. Clothes come to mouth, food comes to hand. Lu En lived the life he dreamed of in his previous life. Moreover, he had a salary, every day, just lying on a sun lounger to bask in the sun, drinking drinks, eating desserts. He could lie down and get a salary, quietly becoming a salary thief in the Marine. In this regard, Lu En expressed great satisfaction. Mr. Lu En, we have arrived at Mushroom Town. Next, we need to go to the Marine branch in Mushroom Town to register your information. Only after your identity information is registered, you can be considered to have truly joined the Marine. Of course, during this period, your salary will definitely be calculated, so you don't have to worry about this. And Kizaru Admiral should have prepared for you to be awarded the rank of Colonel in the future. As long as you officially register for employment, everything will be arranged for you. Colonel Karen came to Lu En carefully and told him the truth. So troublesome? Lu En glanced at the bustling town next to him. Then, he slowly stood up. He didn't take off his sunglasses, and still held the drink cup in his hand. He said casually, "Let's go. I feel a little stiff after lying down for 2 days. It's time to stretch my muscles a little." Hearing this, Karen could only laugh dryly. Turning around, he immediately regained his majestic look and gave a solemn order to his Marine subordinates. "Everyone leave the warship and follow me back to the Marine branch in Mushroom Town." After a while, led by Karen, a group of Marines got off the warship and landed in Mushroom Town. Among them, Karen followed Lu En all the way, just like a little follower, not at all like the supreme commander of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town. Bart, who was Karon's trusted subordinate, naturally followed closely behind. He also brought hundreds of Marines, and the group rushed to the Marine branch in a mighty manner. Along the way, you can clearly feel the pairs of eyes from the local residents of Mushroom Town, full of awe and admiration. The pedestrians whispered to each other. The Marine recruits who had just arrived in Mushroom Town also whispered to each other, communicating with each other excitedly. "Is this Mushroom Town? It feels so grand, much more prosperous than the town where I live. I wonder where our Marine branch is located in Mushroom Town." In general, the atmosphere is very harmonious. As more and more local residents are attracted, naturally many local residents of Mushroom Town have recognized the identity of Karen, the supreme commander of the Marine branch. And when they saw Karen, the supreme commander of Mushroom Town, is now cautiously following Lu En like a follower. This scene naturally caused a strong sense of shock in the hearts of many residents. This scene undoubtedly caused a great spiritual shock to them. Even Colonel Karen, the supreme commander of our Mushroom Town Marine branch, is like a little follower at this moment, following the young man around. Who is that young man? It seems that our Mushroom Town seems to have ushered in an incredible big man. Many exclamations sounded one after another. The residents were shocked. As for all the discussions from the outside world, Lu En, as the person involved, didn't care at all. Now, his attention is more focused on the system in his body. He is about to arrive at the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, which means that he will be able to sign in again. The rewards for the second sign in at the Marine branch of Mushroom Town are very attractive to Lu En. He walked all the way and estimated that he had walked for more than a quarter of an hour. In front of him, the unique landmark building of the Marine branch of Mushroom Town finally appeared. When they saw the landmark building of the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, including Marine officers such as Karen and Bart, as well as the group of recruits, all showed excitement on their faces. The recruits were looking around excitedly. This is where they will work for the next 10 years, or even 20 or 30 years. As Lu En successfully arrived at the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, the long-lost reminder sound of the system sounded again, buzzing in his ears, lingering for a long time. Sign in successfully at the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. Rewards. Peak Hawkeye plus Peak Dragon Horse plus Peak Odin's Swordsmanship. Rewards are being settled. Rewards have been issued. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket host, please check. Close black lens bracket chapter 20 The strongest in ancient and modern times? The strongest armament Haki? Fourth update, please give me flowers and votes. With the system prompt sound in his head, before Lu En could react. Instantly. Boom. An incomparable amount of memory, like a surging tide, rushed into Lu En's mind frantically. Lu En seemed to have lost his soul, and his eyes were blank. His head at this moment was like a sponge, digesting and absorbing these large amounts of unfamiliar memories at an astonishing speed, and transforming them into the body's instinct and muscle memory. This incomparable amount of memory, all revolved around swordsmanship. Hawkeye's swordsmanship at his peak, dragon-slaying swordsman Ryoma's swordsmanship at his peak. Kazuki Odin's swordsmanship at his peak. How high was the swordsmanship level of these three world-class first-class swordsmen at their peak? It's simply unimaginable. There is no doubt. The sign-in reward obtained by signing in to the Mushroom Town Marine branch, this time, in terms of value, is definitely not inferior to the physique of Peak Whitebeard plus Peak Kaido plus Peak Charlotte Linlin, obtained by signing in last time. If the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak gave Lu En an extremely solid foundation, then, the swordsmanship of the three great swordsmen at their peak at this moment is to build a high-rise building on his solid foundation. Let Lu En's world's strongest physique, which he already has, fully exert the most powerful power. In the past, Lu En only had the world's strongest physique, but he never could exert the full combat power of the strongest physique. But now everything is different. With a large amount of swordsmanship memories constantly pouring into his mind, the experience, talent, understanding, skills, etc. of the three world-class swordsmen at their peak were fully poured into Lu En's mind. It was like a revelation. It was like being taught skills in a martial arts novel. The world's strongest physique plus the world's strongest swordsmanship equals? Even Lu En himself dared not imagine this question. While having the world's strongest physique, he also has the world's #1 swordsmanship level. How powerful will this make him? The strongest creatures on land, sea and air, Kaido of the beasts? Chun Chun is a cute one. As for the world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye? Even the current Hawkeye would be slapped hard if he passed by Lu En. After all, the swordsmanship that Lu En has integrated comes from the swordsmanship level of three world-class swordsmen at their peak. Among them, the current world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye. On the basis of integrating the swordsmanship level of the current world's #1 swordsman, Hawkeye, it also integrates the dragon-slaying swordsman Ryoma hundreds of years ago, a world-class swordsman who has never been defeated in his life. In that era, the swordsman Ryoma was probably also a world-class swordsman of the first level. Hawkeye is the world's #1 swordsman in modern times, and Ryoma is the world's #1 swordsman in the old era. The swordsmanship levels of the two are integrated into Lu En's body. It is conceivable how terrible the bottom of Lu En's swordsmanship level will be raised. Finally, Kazuki Odin's swordsmanship is also world-class. There is no doubt about this. Maybe Odin's swordsmanship is not as famous as Hawkeye and Ryoma, but he was able to chop down Kaido back then. If Kaido had not threatened with hostages, Odin would have killed Kaido directly. It can be seen that Odin's swordsmanship is also penultimately superb. He is definitely one of the best swordsmanship of that era, and ranked in the top 3 in the world. The three world's top swordsmen in different eras, their swordsmanship at their peak times merged into one, creating the birth of Lu En, the world's most powerful swordsman ever. It is certain. After integrating the swordsmanship of these three world-class swordsmen at their peak, Lu En's swordsmanship is definitely the strongest in the past thousands of years. Unprecedented and unrivaled. Unrivaled in the past and present. If Lu En had not intended to compete for the world's #1 swordsman, he could easily defeat the current world's #1 swordsman Hawkeye and take away his title of the world's #1 swordsman with his current swordsmanship. The world's top swordsmen of 3 different eras, at their peak swordsmanship, have all been integrated into Lu En's body. In addition, the physiques of the 3-4 emperors at their peak obtained from the last sign-in have been integrated into the world's strongest physique. Now Lu En's overall strength is simply beyond the standard. After a moment, as countless memories of swordsmanship in his mind were completely absorbed and transformed into the body's instincts and muscle memory, Lu En gradually began to come back to his senses. After exhaling gently, 2 sharp rays of light flashed in Lu En's eyes, like a peerless swordsman, showing his brilliance. Just the sharp look in his eyes was enough to stop countless swordmasters from trying to challenge him. The fusion of the swordsmanship of the 3 world's top swordsmen made Lu En now overwhelm countless swordsmen in this sea with just his momentum. Now I have the strongest physique in the world, and I also have the strongest swordsmanship in the world. Especially the level of swordsmanship I have mastered. It is enough to run through thousands of years of ancient and modern times, and it can still be called the strongest swordsmanship in the world. Lu En was full of emotion. In just a moment, under the infusion of the system, he had completely mastered the strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times formed by the fusion of the 3 world's top swordsmen. Now, even if he only holds a small knife in his hand, Lu En can use it to exert an unparalleled level of powerful swordsmanship. Just a small knife is enough to kill the so-called great swordsman in this sea in seconds. Even, it is no exaggeration to say, with just a small knife, Lu En is enough to deal with the current world's #1 swordsman Haki. This is not arrogance, nor is Lu En too arrogant. It is purely the true level of Lu En's current swordsmanship after integrating the 3 world's top great swordsmen. No one can beat it, invincible. The strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times that can truly transcend the times. In addition, the world's strongest physique that Lu En integrated when he signed in for the first time, combined with his strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times. The two complement each other, and the strength that can be exerted is definitely more than 10 times. If Lu En's body only has a single world's strongest physique, or has a single ancient and modern strongest swordsmanship, then Lu En's strength will definitely not be so excessive. But when the body has both at the same time, then Lu En's strength is terrifying to the point of being outrageous. The many memories of swordsmanship surging in his mind made Lu En feel extremely familiar. It was as if the sword skills in his mind had been practiced for hundreds of years and completely integrated with his body. Sword skills and body are integrated, they are completely indistinguishable from each other. So, Lu En will never feel unfamiliar when performing these sword skills. He has truly mastered them, he is very skilled, as if he was born with the strongest sword skills in ancient and modern times. Time passed by little. Lu En gradually came back to his senses, and the excitement, joy, and excitement brought by the integration of the sword skills of the 3 world's top swordsmen at their peak were slowly restrained by him. At the same time, the system prompt sounded again from Lu En's head. Sign in location has been refreshed, East Blue Log Town. Reward. Armament Haki of Peak Garp plus Peak Roger plus Peak Rayleigh. Chapter 21 Terrifying Aura, joining the company as a Marine Colonel, Update 1, 3K Chapter. The sign in location is Log Town in East Blue? Seeing the sign in location refreshed by the system again, Lu En was slightly stunned. Immediately, he moved his eyes down. Look at the reward for signing in Log Town. Armament Haki? Moreover, it is the Armament Haki of 3 world-class top powers. First of all, the first one is the Armament Haki of the Peak Garp. Garp, the marine hero Garp the Fist. Not to mention Garp in the later period. Because of saving his disciple Kobe, he was besieged by half of the Blackbeard pirates, and was attacked by the former Marine Admiral Aokiji and the Blackbeard pirates, facing a disastrous defeat. Compared with Whitebeard Edward Newgate, who was also the top powerhouse of the Old Sea. In the Summit War, he was attacked by Aokiji, Akainu, and Blackbeard in turn. In the middle, he was also instigated by Akainu to rebel against his adopted son. As a result, his adopted son attacked and was stabbed in the heart. He dragged his old and wounded body throughout the fight, beat Akainu half to death, and hung Blackbeard up and beat him. In the end, he died under siege, but his record is still quite brilliant. On the other hand, Munkid Garp, the marine hero who was also the top powerhouse of the old era, was besieged by half of the Blackbeard pirates and a former Marine Admiral Aokiji, and faced a disastrous defeat. And Aokiji was unscathed throughout the whole fight. In contrast, Garp is much inferior. But all this cannot be denied. The armament Haki that Garp possesses is definitely among the top 3 in the world. There is no doubt about this. So far, Garp has not revealed any signs of mastering Conqueror's Haki. So, can Lu En understand that, in the old days when Roger galloped across the sea, Garp relied on his own powerful armament Haki to shake Roger, Whitebeard and other top seamasters who had already mastered Conqueror's entanglement? Using armament Haki to challenge Conqueror's entanglement? If this is really what Lu En understands, then Garp's attainments in armament Haki are a bit terrifying. He can be called the owner of the strongest armament Haki in the sea. Being able to obtain the armament Haki of the peak hero Garp will definitely make Lu En's strength usher in a huge surge, rapid progress. In addition, the second one is the armament Haki from One Piece Gold D. Roger. Although Roger's Conqueror's entanglement is more famous than the armament Haki he mastered, but in fact, as a hexagonal all-round warrior, Roger has almost no shortcomings. Whether it is observation Haki, armament Haki, Conqueror's Haki, or even swordsmanship, any one of Roger's skills alone can be regarded as the best in the ocean. If we must pick out Roger's weaknesses, then the only problem that can be picked out is Roger's physical fitness, which is incomparable to the physical fitness of monsters such as Whitebeard, Kaido, and Charlotte Linlin. After all, Roger is the only top sea warrior who died of terminal illness. Finally, Rayleigh's armament Haki also does not need too much explanation. As King Luffy's master, the mentor and guide who taught King Luffy Conqueror's Haki. Even though Rayleigh is now old, his strength is still enough to compete with Marine Admiral. Not only because Rayleigh has an excellent level of swordsmanship, but also because Rayleigh's observation Haki, armament Haki, and Conqueror's Haki have reached perfection and are perfect. Rayleigh's armament Haki has also been cultivated to an extremely high level. This time, Lu En only needs to sign in at Log Town in East Blue to get the armament Haki of 3 of the most powerful men in the sea at their peak. You can imagine. When the armament Haki mastered by these three most powerful men in the sea at their peak is integrated, how terrifying will Lu En's overall strength be improved? Not to mention the integration of the armament Haki of the three most powerful men in the sea at one time. Just integrating the armament Haki of any one of the above people can bring about a huge transformation of Lu En's strength. The integration of the armament Haki of the three most powerful men in the sea means that Lu En will master the world's strongest armament Haki. The world's strongest armament Haki without a doubt. At that time, it will be the world's strongest physique plus the strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times plus the world's strongest armament Haki equals? Just imagining it makes Lu En feel excited and full of expectations. Letting out a breath gently, Lu En forced himself to suppress his excitement and gradually came back to his senses. At this time, Marine Colonel Karen, who was standing next to Lu En, noticed that the former had not moved for a long time, so he couldn't help turning his head and casting a puzzled look. When he saw Lu En for the first time, Karen felt his hair stand on end, his bones were creepy, and his scalp was numb. From Lu En's eyes, Karen could clearly feel that a sharp sword energy and momentum was coming towards him, sweeping over his body, making his body extremely stiff and unable to move. The sharp sword energy was accompanied by a terrifying aura and pressure, as if he was facing a flood and a beast. Gurgle, Karen couldn't help swallowing his saliva, and his mind was shocked. In that short period of time just now, what kind of changes had happened to Mr. Lu En? Why did he suddenly reveal such an amazing pressure? The sharp breath flashing in Lu En's eyes was about to blind Karen's eyes, making the latter couldn't help but take a half step back, as if he was shocked from the heart. Mr. Lu En, what's wrong with you? Resisting the fear and shock in his heart, Karen asked carefully. Nothing. Lu En shook his head. He adjusted the breath pressure emanating from his body, and tried to retract all of it into his body as much as possible, so as not to affect the people around him. Because he had just integrated the swordsmanship of the three world's top swordsmen, he had the strongest swordsmanship level in ancient and modern times. Therefore, for a while, he could not perfectly control the sharp breath pressure emanating from his body from time to time. But fortunately, after mastering the trick, he could immediately retract the breath overflowing from his body. Lend me your saber, Lu En said to Karen. Although he was a little puzzled by such a request, Karen did not break the casserole to ask the truth, and quickly handed the samurai sword carried on his waist to the former. Taking this well-made samurai sword in his hand, Lu En held the handle with one hand in his right hand, and the samurai sword in his hand seemed to be a third arm extending from his body. Like an arm driving. Even though Lu En had never practiced swordsmanship, and had never used a samurai sword as a weapon. But now, the samurai sword in his hand gave him an extremely intimate feeling, like an extension of his body and arms. With the integration of the swordsmanship level of the three top world swordsmen in his body, Lu En now held this ordinary samurai sword in his hand, and a very strong feeling arose in his heart. He looked up and looked at the prosperous mushroom town in front of him, with people coming and going, and it was very lively. With just one knife, he could split the entire mushroom town on the spot. The mushroom town with a diameter of 40 kilometers. In Lu En's view, one knife is enough. One knife can split the entire mushroom town in half. One knife spanned a full 40 kilometers, forcibly splitting it in two. Sinking the entire town with a population of hundreds of thousands. It's not an exaggeration at all. It's definitely not an exaggeration. This is the horror of the strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times that Lu En now possesses. As if it's just Lu En now, who hasn't yet obtained the strongest armament Haki. Just by having the world's strongest physique plus the strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times, his combat power is enough to be raised to the terrifying level of destroying an island by himself. Beside him, Karen, who had been closely observing Lu En's every move, suddenly felt a palpitation in his heart, as if his heart was being squeezed tightly by someone's hand, making him choke and his throat dry. Feeling the sharp aura and pressure emanating from Lu En holding a samurai sword. More terrifying than all the swordsmen Karen had ever seen before. This made Karen have an extremely terrifying guess in his heart. A few years ago, I witnessed the scene of the world's #1 swordsman Haki Mahawk taking action. However, the aura and pressure that Haki burst out at that time was not as strong as Mr. Lu En holding a samurai sword at this moment. In comparison, I even have an illusion. Mr. Lu En is more like the world's #1 swordsman. Are you crazy? A world's #1 swordsman who is only 16 years old? With this amazing guess emerging in his heart, Karen was shocked. He was completely frightened, he was frozen in place. Illusion. This must be an illusion. Who is Haki? One of the 7 warlords of the sea. He is also recognized as the world's #1 swordsman. He is recognized as the world's #1, even if Mr. Lu En is stronger. He can't be stronger than Haki, right? What's more, in the field of swordsmanship, no one can surpass the world's #1 swordsman. Let's go. Casually returning the samurai sword to Karen, Lu En walked towards the marine branch in Mushroom Town in front. Although he was confident that he could do it, but of course he would not be so crazy as to split the entire Mushroom Town with a knife, which was equivalent to forcibly destroying an island. With the mastery of the strongest swordsmanship in ancient and modern times, Lu En also began to think that he had to find a good knife sometime. Watching Lu En's back as he walked away, Karen woke up belatedly. He forced himself to get rid of the absurd, horrifying, and horrified thoughts in his mind, and hurriedly followed. One day, as Lu En came to the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, he officially registered for the job. The appointment document conveyed by the Naval Headquarters Marineford directly granted Lu En the rank of Marine Colonel. He was a Marine Colonel right after he joined the job. This also made Lu En the only Marine Colonel in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, with the same rank as Colonel Karen, the highest commander of Mushroom Town. In the 4 seas of East, West, South, and North, except for the Grand Line, the Marine Colonel is almost the highest position in the Marine. Generally, those who have reached the rank of Marine Commodore and Rear Admiral will be assigned to the Grand Line. It can be said that Lu En has just joined the job, and his status is already at the top of North Blue Marine. Chapter 22 Modson's Invitation, Dao Power Test, Second Update, 3K Chapter. The time came to the second day, North Blue, Mushroom Town Marine Branch. In Mushroom Town, a marine branch built here covers a very large area, and a unique landmark building is very eye-catching, serving as the anchor of the local residents of Mushroom Town. The overall area of the entire marine branch is about 40,000 square meters. Among them, the marine branch includes different departments such as the logistics department, weapons department, training ground, etc. It is not difficult to understand that it needs to occupy such a large area. And with Karen personally leading the team yesterday, all the Marines recruited from North Blue returned to the branch. In addition, there was a special case of a Marine who was awarded the rank of Colonel as soon as he joined the Marine, which inevitably attracted a lot of criticism from the local Mushroom Town Marine branch. Even the Marine clerks of the logistics department who had never been out on missions in the branch couldn't help but participate in the discussion. A fierce exchange was held around the special case of Lu En, who was awarded the rank of Marine Colonel as soon as he joined the Marine. Marine who joined through the back door. This is the first time I've seen someone who just joined the Marine and was immediately promoted to Marine Colonel by the headquarters. You know, even Colonel Karen had to work hard for more than 10 or 20 years before he gradually grew from a Marine to a Marine Colonel, the highest commander of our Mushroom Town Marine branch. But yesterday, a 16-year-old boy was appointed Marine Colonel as soon as he joined the job. This made me feel strongly that he was treated unfairly. These people who got in through the back door are really annoying. That is to say, from now on, there will be 2 Marine Colonels in our Mushroom Town Marine branch. In North Blue, any Marine Colonel is enough to command a Marine backbone combat force on an island with a population of hundreds of thousands. Some dissatisfied voices were inevitable in the Marine branch. Some old Marines have been unable to improve their military ranks for decades. Now, seeing that a 16-year-old boy has become a Marine Colonel just after joining the Marine, it is no wonder that they feel unbalanced. One day amidst the discussion among the Marines, Moderson, the second commander of the Mushroom Town Marine branch, a Marine Lieutenant Colonel, also led another group of Marines recruited from North Blue and returned as scheduled. There were about 100 people. Lieutenant Colonel Moderson and Colonel Karen, the two split into 2 groups, recruited good seedlings from all over North Blue to join the Marine, which was also considered to be a response to the measures of world conscription from Naval Headquarters Marineford. As for how much Marine funds are needed to recruit such a large number of Marines, is the Marine fund sufficient? These issues are not what the following Marines should consider. Naturally, someone at the Naval Headquarters will consider them properly. Lieutenant Colonel Moderson, you are back. Seeing Moderson return with a group of recruits who had just been recruited, an old local Marine immediately stepped forward and spoke up for Moderson. You don't know that among the Marines recruited by Colonel Karen, there was actually a second generation who was awarded the rank of Colonel by the headquarters as soon as he joined the Marine. You have worked hard for our Mushroom Town Marine branch for so many years, but I have never seen that the headquarters will promote your rank to Colonel. I never thought that a young boy who was only 16 years old would overtake you in a corner. In an instant, he surpassed the contributions you have made to our Marines over the years. Can you swallow this? Hearing this, Moderson raised his eyebrows. His eyes were filled with a bit of indignation. Although he did not show any anger on the outside, anyone with a discerning eye could see his inner dissatisfaction. After more than 10 years of hard work in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, Moderson climbed all the way to the position of Marine Lieutenant Colonel. He was not satisfied, and it was natural for him to want to climb to a higher position. Now, suddenly, a teenage boy appeared, overtook him directly, and stood above him, which made Moderson dissatisfied. As more and more people from the Marine branch joined the discussion, the atmosphere on the scene was noisy, just like a vegetable market, and it seemed chaotic. Moderson frowned and scolded with a serious face. Don't you have to work anymore? You don't need to worry too much about my affairs. Just do your own work well. He is not a person who is jealous of talents, but he does not think he is a soft persimmon. He only hopes that a recruit who can be awarded the rank of Colonel by exception must have enough skills and abilities. Otherwise, he would be the first to disobey. Moderson, who was about 3 meters tall, was wearing a Marine uniform. He had dark skin, a sturdy figure, a broad back, and a fierce look in his eyes. With a frown, he immediately scared away a group of Marines who were talking and returned to their respective posts. Those who have just registered for the job, follow me to the training ground. Moderson ordered a group of recruiters who had just joined the Marines behind him. The training ground of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town is located next to the Tiger Forest. This area is very spacious and vast, and there are no residents living around, so there is no need to worry about disturbing nearby residents because of training. The ferocious beasts in the Tiger Forest can also be used as prey targets for the Marines' daily training to hone the practical skills of the recruiters who have just joined the Marines. At this time, training ground. After the recruiters who had just joined the Marines received their Marine uniforms, they lined up neatly in 8 columns. The young Marines, with their eyes full of longing for the future, are at the age of high morale, ambition, and striving to climb up and take action to realize their inner justice. This time, the Mushroom Town Marine branch recruited a total of 180 Marine recruits. This batch of recruits need to undergo 3 months of hard training before they can officially join various mission teams for outbound execution. During the 3 months of training, the first thing is physical fitness, then fighting, as well as shooting, action coordination, etc. There are many projects that need to be focused on. Since today is the first day for this batch of recruits to join the Marine, there is no deliberate arrangement of too strict and harsh training. I saw 2 Dow Force testers issued by Naval Headquarters Marineford were placed in the middle area, attracting the curious eyes of 180 Marine recruits. The Dow Force tester was built by the research team of the Naval Headquarters. Its main function is to test the instantaneous attack power that a person can burst out in an instant, and finally present it in a numerical form. It is equivalent to a test machine for a person's accurate combat power. It can clearly evaluate a person's strength level. Today, located in the training ground here, the main people who gave speeches in front of recruits are Colonel Karen, Lieutenant Colonel Moderson, and Major Bart. It is regarded as a welcome ceremony for Marine recruits. Originally, as one of the only 2 Marine colonels in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town, a special example of being awarded the rank of colonel as soon as he joined the job. Lu En is naturally qualified to give a speech on stage and show his presence in front of this group of recruits. But Lu En has never been enthusiastic about these troubles, but rather very resistant. Therefore, he directly and decisively refused to give a speech on stage. With this extra time, it is better for him to lie down and bask in the sun. So, when Karen, Moderson and others were giving speeches. On the other side, Lu En was not far from the training ground, lying in a rocking chair, wearing sunglasses and holding a drink in his hand, looking so happy. The loud speeches of Karen and others kept coming to his ears, making Lu En vaguely feel as if he had returned to his previous life when he was still studying, listening to the boring voices of the principal and leaders on the podium. If he was not the only Marine colonel in Mushroom Town, he must participate in the welcome ceremony for Marine recruits. Lu En would not have bothered to come here and listen to these boring nonsense. At this time, Lu En had changed into a brand new Marine uniform, which was different from the uniform of Marine soldiers. As the uniform worn by Marine colonels, there were 2 big words, justice, on the back. The white shirt perfectly showed Lu En's figure, dressed to look thin, undressed to look muscular. Even though he was only 16 years old, he was already nearly 2 meters tall. In this world where the average height is 2 or 3 meters, Lu En's height is actually normal. I'm afraid no one can imagine it. Lu En's seemingly thin body contains extremely terrifying and powerful strength. He is also the owner of the world's strongest physical fitness. Gradually, the boring speech ended. Before the Marine recruit was about to start training, Colonel Karen specially arranged a small experiment of daily test. The main purpose is to let every Marine recognize his own strength. He can also better feel how much strength he can bring to himself after hard training in the next 3 months. The first person to walk towards the daily tester was Lieutenant Colonel Moderson. He was regarded as a role model to inspire Marine recruits. It was also to show off his muscles to these recruits and give them a warning, so that they can devote themselves to hard training in the future. Moderson took a deep breath and punched the daily tester. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, the 180 Marine recruits present widened their eyes and stared at the daily value displayed by the daily tester. 409. 400 Dow Force values. At the beginning, this group of Marine recruits did not have an accurate understanding of this Dow Force value. And then, as recruits began to test their own Dow Force values one after another, most of the results were between 5 and 15 Dow Force values. All Marine recruits then deeply realized, how strong is Lieutenant Colonel Moderson? So, Lieutenant Colonel Moderson is 400 times stronger than us? FK, isn't this too exaggerated? Even Lieutenant Colonel Moderson is so strong. What about Colonel Karen? Isn't it even more exaggerated? The recruits were amazed. Seeing this, Moderson smiled with satisfaction. Just when he was about to use himself as an example to educate this group of recruits, as he turned his eyes, he saw a young figure lying on a rocking chair not far from the training ground, with a comfortable and leisurely face. Seeing this, Moderson frowned, with a bit of dissatisfaction in his eyes. We are all working hard to recruit Marines here, and you, a colonel, who was awarded the rank of colonel as a special case right after joining the company, are still lying on the chair and slacking off. It is simply corrupting the atmosphere of the Marines. Colonel Lu En, do you mind testing your power? Let us all see it. a genius monster who was only 16 years old and was awarded the rank of colonel as a special case right after joining the company by the Naval Headquarters. How powerful is he? He made the invitation with an indignant look on his face. Chapter 23. Karen. He is a real monster. Moderson openly expressed his inner dissatisfaction and anger. He had worked hard for more than 10 years before he climbed to the position of Marine Lieutenant Colonel. Why was a mere 16-year-old boy granted the position of Colonel by the Naval Headquarters right after he joined the company? He was not convinced. At present, inviting the other party to participate in the Dow Force test was Moderson's way of venting his inner dissatisfaction. He wanted everyone to see clearly. Why did a 16-year-old boy become a Marine Colonel? Moderson's targeted speech naturally attracted the attention of everyone in the audience. Among them, including the 180 Marine recruits. Among them were recruits who followed Karen and witnessed Lu En's killing of Sea Kings with Conqueror's Haki and sinking 2 pirate ships with 1 blow. They knew very well how powerful was Lu En, who was only 16 years old. They also knew why Lu En, who was 16 years old, was promoted to Marine Colonel by the headquarters. So, they looked at Lu En with expectation, and wanted to see how amazing the Dow Force value he could hit. On the other hand, another group of Marine recruits were recruited by Lieutenant Colonel Moderson himself. Since they had never seen Lu En take action, they could not help but express their inner doubts about the fact that Lu En was promoted to Marine Colonel at the age of only 16. A 16-year-old Marine Colonel? Moreover, he just joined the job and received the Colonel appointment document from the Naval Headquarters? Isn't this too outrageous? It must be a backdoor. If he didn't have a background that was all-powerful, how could a 16-year-old boy who just joined the job be awarded the rank of Colonel? The recruits expressed strong doubts, condemnations, and indignation. At this moment, they suddenly understood why Lieutenant Colonel Moderson would target the other party so unabashedly. If it were them, they would have worked hard for more than 10 years to climb to the position of Lieutenant Colonel. But watching others become Marine Colonels just after joining the job, they would naturally feel unbalanced. A huge psychological gap will cause people to lose their minds, become irritable, angry, and dissatisfied. I hope that Colonel Lu En, who is only 16 years old, can show his due strength. Don't be a useless vase, who comes to North Blue to gild himself. Many recruits complained in their hearts. At the same time, Moderson's sudden attack caught Colonel Karen off guard, but it seemed reasonable. Alas. Karen looked at Moderson with some anger. The other party had not told him about this matter in advance. He was dissatisfied and angry with Moderson's behavior. But on second thought, he understood Moderson's inner thoughts. He could only sigh helplessly. Karen did not choose to persuade Moderson. He knew very well. At this moment, Moderson, who was dominated by anger and dissatisfaction, would not listen to others' advice seriously, and would even treat everyone's advice as a deliberate flattery of Lu En. Moderson has lost his former rationality and calm thinking ability. So, Karen calmly did not try to persuade the other party. Whatever he said now is false. The only way to calm Moderson down is to let the other party recognize the truth. Otherwise, the Mushroom Town Marine branch will cause more trouble because of this matter in the future. This is what Karen does not want to see. In this case, I will teach you a profound lesson. Lieutenant Colonel Moderson, you may not know what kind of terrifying existence you are trying to provoke. It's good to do so. Let you remember it. In the future, you will foolishly run to provoke Colonel Lu En. You can't understand what kind of terrible monster Colonel Lu En is. You are playing with fire. Karen sighed silently in his heart. Forget it. After today, Lieutenant Colonel Moderson will probably understand why the Naval Headquarters agreed to allow a newly employed Marine recruit to be granted the rank of Colonel. Not only because he is Admiral Kizaru's nephew, more importantly, Lu En is a powerful monster, a real monster. He is a monster with the potential of a king and has mastered Conqueror's Haki. Isn't it normal for such a monster to be awarded the rank of Colonel as soon as he joins the army? Geniuses and monsters always have some privileges. It's reasonable. It's a pity that Lieutenant Colonel Moderson didn't know about all this. Of course. Even if Karen told him all this now, he might not believe it. Moderson can only accept it if he sees it with his own eyes. After all, a Marine Colonel who is only 16 years old and has just been awarded a medal is indeed too difficult to accept. If he had not seen the powerful fighting power displayed by Lu En with his own eyes, I am afraid that Karen would be as unbalanced as Moderson. Colonel Lu En, you won't refuse, right? Seeing that Lu En did not respond, Moderson asked anxiously. Boring. Lu En yawned, lying on the rocking chair, wearing sunglasses. Testing the power value is still too strenuous, with this time. It is most comfortable to continue lying down. As for Moderson's doubts, the doubts of those recruiting eggs who just joined the company? It's none of my business. Lu En doesn't care, whether it's a backdoor or based on strength. Anyway, it won't affect Lu En. At most, it will just cause some more rumors. Lu En doesn't care about these rumors at all. Moderson was furious. He casually picked up the cup in his hand, took a sip from the straw, and felt the sweet taste flowing in his mouth. Lu En showed a satisfied smile. I, Lu En, was busy all my life in my previous life, working overtime until I died suddenly. What's wrong with enjoying it in this life? Keep lying down. Keep basking in the sun. Seeing Lu En's attitude of playing bad, Moderson, the conscientious lieutenant colonel, was even more angry. He walked to Lu En's side in a hurry, and Karen, who was afraid of a conflict between the two sides, also walked over with an anxious and nervous look. He was not afraid that Lu En would anger Moderson, but that Moderson would anger Lu En, and worried that Moderson would be beaten to death by Lu En on the spot. Brother, I'm saving you. Don't add fuel to the fire. This guy, that's a real monster. If this guy attacks you, no one here can stop him. Karen was anxious. Although Moderson's ability is average, he has been working diligently for the Mushroom Town Marine Branch for more than 10 years. It is reasonable for Karen to sit idly by and watch the other party's current suicidal behavior. Colonel Lu En, you don't want to bear all kinds of rumors from the Marines in the branch every day, right? Now, it's your chance to prove yourself, Moderson said. Lu En glanced at Moderson through his sunglasses. Seeing this, Karen quickly stepped forward and carefully suggested, Colonel Lu En, why don't you show off your skills? In this way, you can completely eliminate the voices in the branch that discredit you. Not only Moderson, there are also many local old Marines in the Mushroom Town Marine Branch who are quite controversial about Lu En, the 16-year-old Marine Colonel. The best way is to let Lu En personally take action to shock everyone. Let everyone be speechless. Forget it. After thinking about it, Lu En slowly got up from the sun chair. He looked at Moderson and said lightly, in order to avoid more trouble in the future, I accept your invitation. But, this is just once, and it won't happen again. I don't want anyone to bother me in the future. After speaking, facing the eyes of Karen, Moderson, and the 180 Marine recruits, there was curiosity, expectation, resentment, disdain, etc. in these eyes. Facing these eyes, Lu En walked towards the Taoist force tester step by step. Came in front of the Taoist force tester, no excessive movements. Lu En just raised his hand lightly, closed his 5 fingers, and clenched his right fist. Then, he punched the Taoist force tester with a very casual expression. It can be seen that he didn't even take it seriously. The whole process was like a warm-up. This punch, seemingly lightly, hit the Taoist force tester. Chapter 24. An ordinary punch silenced the whole audience. 4th update. 3K big chapter, please give me flowers. Just an ordinary straight punch. A flat attack. Lu En didn't use any strength at all. Then, this right straight punch hit the Tao force tester from the front. Under the eyes of the whole audience, at the moment when Lu En's right fist hit the Tao force tester. Instantly, boom, an unparalleled force burst out from Lu En's fist, like a volcanic eruption, and the terrifying force of crushing, withering and rotten rushed to the Tao force tester. Overwhelming, like a broken bamboo. Even if Lu En didn't take it seriously, he, who has the strongest physique in the world, still has an unimaginable terrible force with an ordinary right straight punch. It's no exaggeration to say, this ordinary flat attack right straight punch is even enough to kill the Rear Admiral, a senior officer of the Marine Corps. The violent force that exploded from the fist turned into a shockwave and hit the Tao force tester. There were thunderous roars, deafening, as if the sky was torn apart and collapsed. This earth-shaking explosion spread in all directions for more than 10 miles. The entire Marine branch was shaken by force. The ground trembled. The earth shook. This punch cut through the sky at a speed faster than the speed of sound, exploding with sharp and piercing explosions. The power it carried was enough to destroy the world, and the small Tao force tester was naturally no problem. So, Lu En's ordinary punch, the power that burst out instantly shattered the entire Tao force tester, piercing, smashing, and crushing the display screen of the Tao force tester used to test the Tao force value into powder. Crack. Crack. The Tao force tester continued to crack, and then, by the terrifying power released from Lu En's fist, it was all crushed into pieces, flying all over the sky. Even the soil on the ground where the Tao force tester was placed was swept by the aftermath of the force released by Lu En's punch, and the entire surface of the ground was sunk. The ground cracked. The area in front of Lu En with a diameter of 10 meters sank about half a meter deep. Like a meteorite falling from the sky, the remaining hideous deep pit on the ground. Boom. The Naval Headquarters shook slightly, and the training ground seemed to have an earthquake. All the Marines in the training ground could clearly feel the ground shaking violently. The earth shook, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. In the sky, the dust in the sky danced with the fragments of the Tao force tester. The Tao force tester in front of Lu En had disappeared without a trace, and not even a slag was left. It was blasted into powder by a punch and turned into ashes. Silence. The atmosphere at the scene was dead silent. Silence. Lu En's punch directly silenced the entire scene. At this time, even though everyone, including Kalan, had known about Lu En's strength for a long time, when he actually saw the scene where Lu En blew up the Tao force tester with one punch, Kalan was still shocked. This is too fierce, isn't it? Kalan's throat was dry and he was confused. He knew Lu En was very strong, but he didn't expect that the other party would be so strong. He blew up the Tao force tester with one punch? Turtle. What kind of amazing explosive power is this? Even Kalan behaved so badly, not to mention Lieutenant Colonel Moderson, who had never known Lu En's strength before. When Moderson saw the Dao Force tester being blown up with one punch, he was dumbfounded. WW. At first, he firmly believed that the reason why Lu En, who was only 16 years old, was awarded the rank of colonel by the headquarters must be because he had taken a backseat and got the position by relying on his identity and background. It was not until now, when he saw Lu En punching the force tester, that Moderson suddenly woke up and realized how ridiculous his initial thoughts were. At the same time, the 180 Marine recruits were all shocked and stood there blankly when they saw this amazing scene. Their faces were full of shock, dullness, and horror. Although we have known that Colonel Lu En is very strong, who could have thought that he would be so strong? Even the Dao Force tester was blown up. This is too much? Can Colonel Kalan do this? Brother, who are you implying? Colonel Kalan can have such terrifying strength as Colonel Lu En. He almost died when he met Sea Kings last time. I won't tell you who it is, everyone knows. Big guts. You will be fired tomorrow because your right foot stepped into the Marine branch first. The group of Marine recruits who knew about Lu En's strength in advance also showed a strong sense of shock in their hearts, looking at Lu En's back with awe and admiration. Another part of the recruits who did not know Lu En's strength in advance, the emotions they showed at this moment were even more out of control. My God, what kind of monster is this? What kind of monster is this 16-year-old colonel from our Mushroom Town Marine branch? He blew up the Dao power tester with one punch? Do you dare to think about it? So, which yin-yang person has been secretly slandering Colonel Lu En and was appointed as Marine Colonel through the back door? Stand up and let me see which warrior is so bold. Not paying attention to the mental shock caused by his actions just now to everyone present, Lu En yawned and patted the fragments of the Dao power tester on his hands. Turning around slowly, he only left one sentence. I'll leave first if it's okay. The training here is left to you to take full responsibility, no need to ask me. After saying that, Lu En didn't give the people present time to react and left the training ground alone. Until Lu En's figure completely disappeared from the training ground. The atmosphere here was fully detonated, the whole audience was shocked. It seems that a super monster has come to the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. He joined the Marine at the same time as us, but since he was awarded the rank of Colonel, it is obviously not because of the so-called backdoor. Instead, he was promoted to Marine Colonel by relying on his real terrifying strength. At this time, a Marine recruit asked Moderson, who was in a state of confusion, weakly, Lieutenant Colonel Moderson, what is the limit of the Dao power tester? Moderson opened his mouth and blurted out subconsciously, 9,999 Dao power. As soon as the voice fell, all 180 Marine recruits in the audience took a breath of cold air at the same time. Hiss. They have made a little contribution to the warming of the temperature in the pirate world throughout the year. Doesn't this mean Colonel Lu En's punch just now hit a Dao power value of more than 10,000? After all, even the Dao power tester was blown up. A Marine was dumbfounded. Their Dao power range is between 5 and 15. Even a strong Lieutenant Colonel Modson only has 400 Dao power. They really can't imagine it. A punch with a Dao power of over 10,000, what a terrifying concept. Moreover, 10,000 Dao power is far from that person's limit. Because the Dao power tester was blown up, the Dao power tester can't measure the strength of that person at all. Is this the monster who was awarded the rank of colonel by the headquarters at the age of only 16? Too scary. Hearing this, the Marine recruits who had known about Lu En's strength before all showed their pride and held their heads high, as if they were the ones who blew up the daily tester. Colonel Lu En, that was a large sea king that could kill Colonel Karen in seconds. He sank 2 pirate ships with one blow, destroying 600 or 700 pirates. Only you people, who don't know Colonel Lu En's terrifying strength, would believe what you hear. You mistakenly believe that Colonel Lu En was awarded the rank of colonel by using the back door. Many Marines gradually began to talk about the journey with Lu En on a warship to the Marine branch in Mushroom Town. This attracted the other Marine recruits to marvel and admire them. Not far away, Moderson, who gradually woke up from the shock, listened to the Marine recruits' detailed introduction of Lu En's previous actions. Moderson felt it was harsh, and those words were like invisible slaps that slapped his face hard. So, you already knew that Colonel Lu En was a monster? Took a deep breath and calmed down his shaken mood. Then, Moderson looked at his old friend Karen with a face full of resentment. Hearing this, Karen laughed dryly, expressing his helplessness. I said, will you listen? Are you sure you can listen? Just now, you are already overwhelmed by anger. No matter how much I explain to you, you will mistakenly think that I am covering for Colonel Lu En. Moderson paused and was speechless. Then, Karen said earnestly, after this incident, I think you should be able to see how powerful Colonel Lu En is. I advise you not to provoke him again. He is the real monster of this sea, although your position has been Lieutenant Colonel for so many years. But your knowledge and experience are not shallow. I guess you should know that there are some monsters in this sea that can master a power called Haki. Moderson's pupils shrank slightly. He lost his voice. You mean? Karen nodded. Colonel Lu En is this kind of monster, and among these monsters, Colonel Lu En is the most special one. Because Colonel Liu En possesses the Conqueror's Haki, which is 1 in a million. He is a monster with the potential to be a king in the legend. Otherwise, how do you think Colonel Liu En was promoted to Colonel of Marine at the age of only 16? Do you really think it was through the back door? It is no exaggeration to say that even if 100 of you and me are added together, we are far from being Colonel Liu En's opponent. Hearing this, Moderson's heart was shocked. He couldn't help but widen his eyes, his face full of horror. Conqueror's Haki? It is a power that can only be awakened and mastered by the true monsters and kings of the sea in the legend? Karen nodded seriously. Seeing this, Moderson trembled all over. Wow. What kind of terrifying existence did I provoke? That day, accompanied by a shocking news from the training ground, it swept the entire Marine branch of Mushroom Town in a very short time. And those Marines who were originally quite controversial about Liu En, who was only 16 years old, being awarded the rank of colonel by exception, all shut up rationally and remained silent. We are sitting in the well and looking at the sky. A special case of a 16-year-old being promoted to Marine colonel by exception. It is not what we thought before, relying on backdoors and family background. A monster of this level has the qualifications to be awarded the rank of colonel by the headquarters by exception. Chapter 25 Marine Rebel General Drake, First Mission, Updated, 3K Chapter. Afternoon. The sun sets. The golden afterglow of the sunset falls on the horizon. On the spacious streets of Mushroom Town, many vendors have begun to pack up their goods and prepare to close their stalls. The golden afterglow spreads over the sea outside the port, sparkling like gold. Marine Branch of Mushroom Town. After what happened this morning, Liu En's reputation in the Marine branch has suddenly changed dramatically. Throughout the afternoon, any Marine who saw Liu En, or passed by Liu En, smiled and bowed their heads humbly to greet him. This respectful attitude is much more than that of Colonel Karen. Liu En himself didn't feel anything about this. As always, he adhered to the attitude of slacking off when he could and being lazy when he could. In the Marine branch, he lay down from the time he started working until it was almost time to get off work. No one dared to disturb Liu En. This made him very satisfied. It seems that showing off a little at the training ground is still beneficial. Otherwise, even though he heard the chattering of the prisoners around him, it would still affect his mood to some extent. Just when Liu En was holding a drink in his hand, lying on a rocking chair, crossing his legs and enjoying a comfortable life, Karen heard the news and came all the way to Liu En. Colonel Liu En, there's a mission, Karen said bluntly. Ah, it's almost time to get off work. Liu En pointed to the time and refused reluctantly. Colonel Karen, as the saying goes, those who are capable should do more work. People like you who are capable should share more worries with others. Don't you want to go further? Become a Marine Commodore? People still have to be motivated. In my opinion, Colonel Karen, you just lack an opportunity. If you can complete the tasks assigned by the headquarters beautifully, I believe that you will soon be nominated for promotion to Marine Commodore. Hearing this, Karen smiled bitterly. He said, I would like to. However, this mission is not ordinary. With my strength, I am afraid I can't do anything. So, the only person I can think of is you, Colonel Liu En. Liu En was helpless. Okay, he was not good at drawing rosy pictures for others. He wanted to learn from the leaders in the company in his previous life who drew rosy pictures for others and specialized in controlling their subordinates. But now it seems that this set is not suitable for him. I can only say, drawing rosy pictures is also a technical job. Anyway, Liu En can't learn it. Tell me, if the mission is too complicated, then you can just refuse the headquarters. I'm just a Marine colonel. If you insist on asking me to deal with monsters like 7 warlords of the sea, then I still have sufficient reasons to refuse. How much money is paid a month? Dare to ask me to fight with monsters like 7 warlords of the sea? Liu En explained in advance. Karen, although I knew it a long time ago, Colonel Liu En, you don't have any concept of justice in your heart. But it's not good for you to say this so bluntly. You are a Marine colonel after all. Next, Karen suppressed all the thoughts in his heart and quickly told the truth. There's news from the headquarters. There is a small island called Pinglu Island, about 300 kilometers away from the east of our Mushroom Town. The figure of Marine trader, Drake, appeared on that island recently. Someone from the headquarters suggested that the trader Drake might have some plans for Pinglu Island. Hereby order, notify us who are closest to Pinglu Island first, and go to investigate Drake's whereabouts and conspiracy. Here, he paused for a moment. Then, he told all the information he knew about Drake, the Marine trader. Drake, born in North Blue, his father is a Marine officer. But he rebelled against Marine in his early years, became a pirate, and founded a pirate group. With the death of his father, Drake became an orphan. In the early years, Drake joined Marine, upheld justice, and destroyed many pirate groups for Marine, and was awarded the rank of Rear Admiral. He is on par with his father, and even better than his father. Drake's talent and strength are obviously much better than his father, but unfortunately, for unknown reasons, Drake finally chose the same path as his father, rebelled against Marine, and became a pirate. In addition, he also founded the Drake Pirate Group in North Blue. According to the current known information, the fallen Marine Rear Admiral Drake is a zone demon fruit power. He can transform into the ancient species Allosaurus. His strength is very strong. Even if you look at North Blue, Drake is also the most dangerous and powerful pirate among the many pirates in North Blue. So far, Drake's bounty has reached hundreds of millions of berry. Even if you put it in grand line, a pirate with a bounty of over 100 million berry can also be called a great pirate. Karen was worried and his face was heavy. He was not sure about dealing with a great pirate like Drake with a bounty of over 100 million. So, he could only ask Lu En to go out and execute the order issued by the headquarters. To investigate why the Marine rebel Drake suddenly appeared on Pinglu Island and what the other party was planning. Drake, the Marine traitor? Zone ancient species Allosaurus demon fruit power? The bounty is as high as hundreds of millions berry? This is really an incredible monster. Faced with such a strong monster, why would the higher-ups let a colonel like us be responsible for the investigation? Lu En yawned and asked. The corner of Caron's mouth twitched. Monster? Who dares to call himself a monster in front of you, Colonel Lu En? Like Drake, you are afraid that you can kill him on the spot with one punch. After thinking for a while, Karen answered truthfully. The order issued by the headquarters is not for us to take the initiative to capture Drake. We are just responsible for investigating Drake's target. As long as we find out Drake's target, once we find out that Drake has a big plot, we can immediately ask the headquarters to dispatch Vice Admiral level combat forces to capture him. Lu En showed a lack of interest. In this case, you can just go and investigate. Karen was helpless. But Colonel Lu En, there are still many matters that need me to review and deal with in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. If you are willing to deal with these documents, I can grit my teeth and go to Pinglu Island to investigate the traitor Drake. At this time, Lu En sorted out the importance of what was important in an instant. He said, then there is no way. Let me investigate traitors like Drake. These documents here in the Marine branch are left to you to handle and review. In contrast, Lu En prefers to go out to sea on a warship. He is very resistant to dealing with those tedious documents in the office. Besides, taking a warship to go to Pinglu Island to investigate Drake, the final result of the investigation is not decided by Colonel Lu En, the Marine. Lu En naturally does not want to miss this opportunity to fish openly. Anyway, he only needs to work without putting in any effort. No one can find fault with it. Moreover, if Lu En remembers correctly, Drake, who will be one of the 11 supernovas of the evil generation in the future, seems to be an undercover and spy specially planted in the pirates by Marine. Therefore, Drake will probably not really do some burning, killing and looting. In this way, the reason why the headquarters ordered to investigate Drake is probably just for show. Thinking of this, Lu En's mood immediately improved. Colonel Lu En, you can go to the branch later and randomly select some Marines to accompany you on this warship to Pinglu Island to investigate the rebel Drake. Karen kindly reminded. Got it. Lu En nodded, after a moment. After explaining the matter, Karen hurried back to the office to deal with the tedious documents that had accumulated for a long time. Lu En, on the other hand, followed what Karen said. He went to the training ground to call out some recruits and then selected some elite Marines as the main personnel for the sea survey mission. Lu En needs to carefully select the main personnel such as the helmsman, navigator, and chef. Secondly, there is also an adjutant. The reason for selecting an adjutant is mainly to serve as a substitute for Lu En to take charge of the dispatch of Marines when he is usually slacking off. When nothing big happens, Lu En just needs to lie down. As for other things, they are all left to the adjutant to handle. The main target is a fish in troubled waters and a salary thief. Time flies. After all the personnel have been selected, Lu En led about 40 or 50 Marines to the coast of the Mushroom Town port and boarded a brand new medium-sized Marine warship. As Lu En's order was issued, Bart was selected to serve as the adjutant for this mission. Yes, it was Colonel Caron's trusted subordinate, Major Bart, who was Lu En's adjutant and the second person in charge of this mission. Bart, as the adjutant, was conscientious and gave orders to the Marines with a serious face. All Marines immediately performed their duties. The helmsman steered the ship. The navigator observed the weather changes, and mobilized the Marines to start sailing and anchoring. Soon, the warship hoisted a Marine flag with the two big words, Justice, engraved on it, and the flag of justice fluttered in the wind. After a while, the warship set sail. Gradually left the port of Mushroom Town. The destination of this trip was Pinglu Island, 300 kilometers away from the east of Mushroom Town.